Chapter 767. Mu Ran, who was at a loss, once again looked towards Song Kong Hong. It seems that every time I am in a life or death situation, Song Kong Hong would always protect me without any hesitation. Even if I did something wrong just now, Song Kong Hong would still do so. Mississippi, right at this moment, Tang Wei also came over and held on to Mu Ran. Meanwhile, Wei Chong, who was at the side of Tang Wei, didn't understand what kind of script his honor was playing. A sadomasochism script, a damsel in distress script, or a life and death script. Mu Ran absent-mindedly looked at Tang Wei, and suddenly felt very wronged. Just now, I didn't mean it that way. I'm sorry, Sister Tang. Mu Ran, who had always been strong, was actually feeling wronged to the point of crying. Mu Ran was crying because she was wronged by Yi Hua. Of course, there was also their understanding. At this kind of moment, Yi Hua didn't blame Mu Ran and was still protecting Mu Ran. Especially Blue Sky Red. Miss, don't you think we don't know your personality? It's hard for people to not make mistakes. Tang Wei carefully guided. Mu Ran's life had always been smooth sailing, and she rarely experienced any setbacks. Even in the Gouda Duchy, the king did not dare to rashly punish her because she had the huge Tianliang sect behind her. Mu Ran had neglected one point. This was not the Duchy of Gouda. The person sitting on the throne was not her own king, but a tyrant. If he wanted to kill someone, it would not be because he had a powerful backer. Even if the heavens were to back him up, this emperor would kill him without a second word. Song Kong Hong had no choice but to carry out his honor's secret mission, which was to protect Mu Ran. This Mu Ran was about to be chopped. Could it be that he still wouldn't step forward? In fact, Song Kong Hong was also wondering if he should continue with the secret mission. When Mu Ran was lifted for the second time, Song Kong Hong decided to continue with the mission. Lai Gu, who was standing at the side, seemed to have understood his honor's intention. It wasn't just Lai Gu who understood his honor's intention. Everyone else more or less understood it as well. Is his honor directing a plan to injure himself to gain the confidence of others? Yi Hua did not think too much about it. He just wanted to give Mu Ran a blow, that's all. This person's life mustn't be too smooth sailing. Only after experiencing setbacks would one know of one's own inadequacies. I, the Supreme Overlord, had also experienced setbacks before I woke up. This Mu Ran, who had been maintaining a calm state of mind the entire time, just now caused me to feel very unhappy. Mu Ran, you do have some brains, but in my eyes, you are just a person with brains. If you have this kind of attitude, what use do I have for you? Do you really think I want you to join? What a joke. To attack my bodyguard in front of the emperor, Mu Ran, your bodyguard's guts are just as big as yours. Yi Hua said gravely, and killing intent gradually spread out from his body. This is truly a group of people trying to deceive the pitiful little girl. They are all in the same group. Mu Ran hurriedly knelt down and begged. Your Majesty, Song Kong Hong didn't do it on purpose. He only did it to save me. You sure are loyal. How do you think we should settle this matter? Yi Hua asked back. This was also a part of the test. The test was to see Mu Ran's adaptability. The subordinates naturally knew that his honor was going to start the examination, and they were truly afraid of his honor's examination. This was especially so for Fushi, who unconsciously took a step back. Mu Ran quickly thought about it. It did not matter to her, but how could she save their lives? But how was he going to excuse himself from the attack? It was impossible. Your Majesty, I will use the soul of the heavenly path in exchange for their safety. Mu Ran had no other choice but to contribute his heavenly path. This was no different from sacrificing oneself. By extracting the heavenly Tao's soul, one wouldn't be able to live for long. In the end, one would wither and die. Yi Hua naturally understood what the Heaven's Path soul was used for, and he was a little astonished. They had been in contact with Mu Ran for about a month, but Mu Ran could actually use the heavenly Tao to exchange for their safety. It had to be said that Mu Ran was a girl of flesh and blood. Although she was indeed muddle-headed at times, her mind was still straightforward. In that kind of situation, a wave of wretchedness would have been the best result. This Mu Ran was still too upright. If Mu Ran was a little more tactful, how could she annoy her king? But it was because of her integrity that Wei Chong took a fancy to Mu Ran and strongly recommended her. Soul of the heavens, this is a pretty good suggestion. Yi Hua said lightly. Mu Ran heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that he had agreed. But this emperor doesn't want your soul of the heavenly Tao. This emperor isn't interested in that. Mu Ran, who had just relaxed, became nervous again. Your Majesty, this is all my fault. They only offended your Majesty to protect you. Please forgive them. Didn't you just say that? This emperor is a tyrant, and recklessly killing people seems to be what a tyrant should do. This emperor is just being the tyrant you speak of. Mu Ran felt that she was actually speechless. I was the one who said all those words. This emperor is very formidable. To be able to defeat me with just a few words. What? Saintess is speechless now? Yihua asked faintly. My eloquence is getting better and better. With just a few words, I was able to make this genius speechless. Yihua looked towards Kong Kong Hong, then looked towards Yuhua. This emperor has an idea that can pardon all of your crimes. Hearing this sentence, Mu Ran seemed to have seen hope. Your Majesty is benevolent. Hee. Now you know that this emperor is benevolent. Just now, you even shamelessly boasted that this emperor is a tyrant. Qing Ya and Dong Huang Baiji snickered in their hearts. This Yihua is such a miser, scaring everyone to death. Mu Ran lowered her head and remained silent. I have learned a lot of things today. Seeing that this guard of yours is loyal and courageous, let's see how much he is willing to sacrifice for you. Mu Ran didn't understand. Yuhua! Yihua shouted out. Yuhua, who was in the group, went into a slight daze, then walked out and shouted out respectfully. Your Majesty! Your subordinate is here. Spar with this loyal and courageous man and see how loyal and courageous he is. Everyone was dumbfounded when they heard this. Let Yuehua beat up Blue Sky Red. This doesn't seem to be appropriate, right? Our relationship is already very stiff to begin with. If we do this, wouldn't it mean that we won't be able to contact each other even if we die? Right now, Yuehua didn't understand what his honor was trying to do. There are so many people here. Why did his honor ask me to come out and spar with Song Kong Hong? The main point was, Song Kong Hong was only at the level of a doujia at the moment. This was clearly a death sentence, and Moonlight couldn't bring herself to do it. At this moment, Song Kong Hong was dumbfounded. He did not understand what his honor meant by asking Moonlight to beat him up. I don't understand. Not only did Song Kong Hong not understand, even Qing Ya and Dong Huang Baiji did not understand what Yihua meant. In actuality, Yihua was trying to free the two of them from this stalemate. If there was no breakthrough, the stalemate between the two of them would never be resolved. Today, I'm going to make Song Kong Hong understand that this woman is no longer the woman that you imagined her to be. She was someone else's woman. She can hurt you. Don't have any more illusions. Chapter 768. Your Majesty. I'll spar with you. Mu Ran hastily accepted the challenge without hesitation. Song Kong Hong was just an ordinary fighter. He was no match for Mu Ran. Mu Ran, are you going to give up your last chance to save yourself? Don't use your personality to challenge my bottom line. Yihua shouted out gravely. Mu Ran went silent. If he angered this emperor again, Tang Wei and the others would be implicated again. Everyone move aside. Yihua shouted out faintly. His subordinates retreated to the side, leaving an empty space in the middle. Tang Wei helped Mu Ran to stand up and stood at the side. Mu Ran stared at that tall figure as her beautiful eyes were filled with worry. She could feel that Song Kong Hong was against her. But why would he stand out to protect her every single time? She truly couldn't understand. But no matter what, Mu Ran was still moved when she saw that resolute back view. She prayed to the heavens that Song Kong Hong would not be injured. Even if he had to suffer the pain, they were all good people, and he was the one who put them in danger. At this moment, Moonlight's emotions were very complicated. She slowly turned around and looked at Song Kong Hong, who was wearing a mask. Song Kong Hong also turned to look at Yuehua. Her face under the mask was a little strange. It was tense and relaxed at times. It was as if he was in a very complicated mood. Isn't Yuehua the same as well? However, since his honor has already spoken, how can I possibly disobey his order? Kai Yun, who was standing not too far away from Yuehua, was also very worried about his two subordinates. On the day of Yuhua's wedding, the relationship between Yuehua and Yuehua had already become stiff. And now, his honor is lighting a fire on this relationship. Could it be that his honor wants Song Kong Hong to completely give up on him? As the people involved, Moonlight and Sky Hong did not understand this logic. Seeing that Moonlight was just inches away from him, Song Kong Hong lowered his body slightly and got into an attacking stance. The aura of a doja immediately spread out. When Moonlight saw Firmament Hong's action, her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. Sky Red took the initiative to attack. This 10,000-year relationship was finally going to come to an end today. The aura of a doja instantly spread throughout the palace. Sky Red simply punched Yu Hua's face. Yu Hua stood still and waited patiently. Mu Ran clenched her fists tightly. Boom! The punch slammed heavily into Yu Hua's face, and a dull thud rang out. The huge rebound force sent Sky Red flying, and he crashed into one of the pillars in the palace. Boom! Boom! The dragon on the pillar suddenly moved. It let out a dragon roar, seemingly very displeased. Yi Hua's gaze turned cold, and the latter obediently fused back into the pillar. Mu Ran was dumbfounded. She thought that the dragon on the pillar had been carved. Who would have thought that the divine dragon was real? Just now, the dragon head appeared and let out a dragon roar, and then it returned to its original state. Could it be that he was hallucinating just now? However, right now, red of blue sky had landed onto the pillar, and a trace of blood flowed out from the mask. Fixing one's strength at the level of a doja would not be able to withstand such rebound damage. On the other hand, Yu Hua did not attack at all. She only used the weakest defensive method. Even the weakest method was not something a fighter could withstand. Song Kong Hong stood up slowly and attacked Yu Hua again. Boom! Song Kong Hong's body was sent flying again. He seemed to be using this method to wake himself up and stop being so stubborn. She was someone else's woman, no longer the Yu Hua from before. Blue Sky Red attacked again and was sent flying again. Mu Ran, who was standing at the side, was crying. Her heart was heavy as she watched Sky Red's attacks fail again and again. Yu Hua was also furious. What are you doing? Was he using such a method to make himself suffer? Sure. You did it. Song Kong Hong punched out once again, and this time, Yu Hua finally moved. A water pillar gushed out from Yu Hua's body and directly grabbed onto Song Kong Hong's fist. The water pillar then condensed into another fist and fiercely punched onto Song Kong Hong's abdomen. Boom! A shockwave was actually created by this punch. Song Kong Hong. Mu Ran couldn't help but shout out. Yi Hua instantly released an oppressive might and pressed Mu Ran onto the ground, making her unable to move. This is something that my subordinates have only seen. I have to settle this matter today. Blood was flowing out from under Song Kong Hong's mask. Feeling Yu Hua's punch didn't land on his body. Instead, it landed on his heart. Boom! Yu Hua punched out once again. Song Kong Hong felt great. The more Yu Hua punches me like this, the more my feelings towards her will fade. Stop punching me! Mu Ran shouted out miserably. She was worried for Song Kong Hong, completely unaware that the two of them were currently dealing with their relationship issues. Song Kong Hong raised his left fist, seemingly wanting to punch Yu Hua again. However, another water pillar grabbed onto Song Kong Hong's fist, and Song Kong Hong's entire body was hung in the air by the water pillar. Then, Song Kong Hong was punched by the water fist. Suddenly, Song Kong Hong felt that what Yu Hua did was not bad. This way, I won't have to worry about you anymore. Are you living well every day? Are you eating on time every day? Are you happy? Yu Hua seemed to have understood as she punched Song Kong Hong fiercely. However, such a scene caused Mu Ran, who was at the side, to cry. Yi Hua's subordinates remained silent. They didn't expect that today's matter would turn out like this. After punching out one last time and sending Song Kong Hong flying away, Yu Hua stood at her original spot and remained silent. Meanwhile, Song Kong Hong had already fainted. Yu Hua's control was very good, so Song Kong Hong's life wasn't in danger. However, Song Kong Hong, who was under the mask, had a smile on her face. Yi Hua released Mu Ran's oppressive might, and Mu Ran hurriedly ran over to check on Song Kong Hong's injuries. Mu Ran felt that Song Kong Hong's injuries were very serious. This woman is so ruthless. She is actually abusing the weak. Yi Hua let out a breath. His mood didn't seem to be too good. Today's matter shall end here. Holy Maiden is not allowed to take even half a step out of the palace. After finished speaking, Yi Hua turned around and left. We respectfully send off our emperor. Yi Hua's subordinates shouted out respectfully. Everyone took a look at Mu Ran and Song Kong Hong, then silently turned around and left. Only Li Hun remained at the scene and arranged a place for Song Kong Hong to stay. "Follow me," Li Hun said faintly. The petite Mu Ran carried Song Kong Hong on her back once again, and her beautiful eyes were still red. When Li Hun saw that Mu Ran actually cared so much for Song Kong Hong, he was a bit surprised. It's a pity that a man who is in the midst of falling out of love is completely unable to understand the care and concern of other women. However, after this incident, Song Kong Hong should have already given up on Yu Hua. The palace was very big. Li Hun arranged the most ordinary palace for Mu Ran and the others to stay in. After giving a few instructions, Li Hun left. Meanwhile, Mu Ran took out all of the medicine that she had and gave Song Kong Hong's treatment. When Tang Wei and Wei Chong, who were standing at the side, saw how anxious Mu Ran was for Song Kong Hong, they felt slightly at ease. As for whether or not Song Kong Hong would have such good fortune, they didn't know. There are a lot of women in this world, but one must definitely find a woman who loves one. And must definitely not find a woman who loves one but doesn't love one back. Chapter 769. Seems like Song Kong Hong has some luck with women. After getting beaten up by Yu Hua, he has Mu Ran taking care of him. What a lucky bastard. But many things can happen in a dozen days. For example, in Gouda Principality, King Feng Yongzhong was receiving 2 people from Tianliang sect. They were Mu Ran's senior brother and senior sister. Junior sister Mu Ran had only left the sect for a month, but 1.5 months had passed and she was nowhere to be seen, so she had no choice but to come down the mountain to look for her. After all, junior sister was a Heaven Dao expert now, and the sect took good care of her. The 2 of them stood in the study room casually. Other than Feng Yongzhong, Ding Wenba was beside them. "Young Master Tai, Miss Yun, please take a seat." Feng Yongzhong was very polite. They were from Tianliang sect, so he had to treat them well. After all, Tianliang sect wasn't to be trifled with. And he knew why they came today. Tai Hongguang and Yun Ting looked indifferent, as if they didn't care about the king at all. Feng Yongzhong was angry, but he couldn't do anything about it. "Where is my junior sister?" Yun Ting asked coldly. Ding Wenba smiled. "Miss Yun, you are talking about Mu Ran, right?" "Did I ask you?" Yun Ting turned to look at Ding Wenba. The latter instantly lowered his head and cursed in his heart. A dog that relies on its master's power. "Miss Yun, Mu Ran isn't in Gouda Principality now." Feng Yongzhong smiled. Tai Hongguang said solemnly, "Feng Yongzhong, what is Mu Ran's status now? You should know. If you hide her or have other thoughts, you should know the consequences." "Why would I? I won't have other thoughts," Feng Yongzhong quickly said, but in his heart, he wished he could cut these 2 into pieces. Every time he saw these people from Tianliang sect, he wished he could flatten them. "I don't want to speak any more nonsense. Where is Mu Ran? We are going to take her away," Tai Hongguang shouted coldly. It seemed that this man and woman weren't to be trifled with. Feng Yongzhong sighed deeply. Truth be told, Mu Ran went to Wuxia Empire. Wuxia Empire? Yun Ting was puzzled. Why hadn't he heard of such a country before? Yes, this empire used to be called Ling Tai Country. It was occupied recently and called itself an empire. They didn't care about Tianliang sect at all. After all, they didn't report to Tianliang sect when they founded the empire. Mu Ran is merciful and doesn't want the 2 sides to fight, so he went there alone to gather information. Feng Yongzhong was a scheming person. Yun Ting's gaze turned cold. "You actually let Mu Ran go alone. Mu Ran's temper is very stubborn, she won't give in. Right now, it has already been a month, and there is still no news from Mu Ran at all, I'm afraid." Feng Yongzhang's face was filled with worry, seemingly as if it was real. "It's already been a month." Tai Hongguang growled. There had been no news of his junior sister for a month. This was probably not a good thing. After all, junior sister was now a heavenly law doja. Feng Yongzhong nodded and said in a deep voice, "I watched Mu Ran grow up. I won't let this matter rest. I've been making arrangements for sending troops these few days." Tai Hongguang and Yun Ting took a look at each other. Right now, finding junior sister is more important. What is there to be afraid of for a small empire? Without saying anything, the 2 walked out of the study room and flew into the sky. After seeing the 2 left, Feng Yongzhong snorted coldly. What kind of joke is this? Isn't this just relying on the Tianliang sect that is behind them? Your Majesty. Ding Wenba, who was at the side, called out in a low voice. Speak. It is time to pave the way for the fourth prince. Ding Wenba suggested. After hearing that, Feng Yongzhang paused for a moment, then said, Speak. Wuxia Empire cannot be allowed to be destroyed by the Tianliang sect. Right now, the fourth prince needs to go on a war, and Wuxia Empire is the best choice. What you said makes a bit of sense. Just now, I had also told them about the matter of sending troops out in front of them. From the looks of it, it is time for us to pave the way for Yun'er. Your Majesty is wise. After all, Mu Ran had the identity of a saintess in Guda Principality, and furthermore, she was also a heavenly law doge. Even if Guda Principality didn't come looking for Mu Ran, the Tianliang sect would definitely come looking for Mu Ran. It doesn't matter who comes looking for Mu Ran, I will kill every single one of them. If a group of people comes, kill them all. Let the entire Northern Liang sect know that Wuxia Empire is the most stable place for them to live in. Very quickly, Tai Hongguang and Yun Ting found the location of Wuxia Empire. Senior brother, should we go back and report this? Yun Ting asked faintly. Tai Hongguang appeared to be very relaxed. There is no need to report a small empire. As long as Mu Ran is still alive, we will naturally be able to snatch it back. If something happens to Mu Ran, then this Wuxia Empire will have to be prepared to suffer the wrath of the Tianliang sect. Yun Ting replied lightly. The two of them quickly flew towards Wuxia Empire. The two of them had the strength of a rank 9 doshi, and they could basically walk unhindered in these empires. In less than an hour, the two of them saw the outline of Wuxia Empire, and they couldn't help but be startled. Senior brother, is this Wuxia Empire? Yun Ting rubbed his eyes and asked in disbelief. Tai Hongguang was a little absent-minded as well. This was the first time that he had seen such a magnificent empire. This kind of layout feels even more luxurious and imposing than my Tianliang sect. This has indeed broadened my horizons. Tai Hongguang muttered softly. Such a city was indeed something that people yearned for. Even if the Tianliang sect were to move here, it would definitely not be bad. Yun Ting suggested softly. Senior brother, I feel that this Wuxia Empire is not ordinary. It is best that we return and report to Master and see what decision Master makes. Hearing Yun Ting's words, Tai Hongguang seemed to have lost a lot of face. It was as if he was frightened by the other party's imposing manner, and wanted to return to find reinforcements. Therefore, Tai Hongguang wasn't afraid at all. What is there to be afraid of? They are just paper tigers. Junior sister might have been captured. Yun Ting paused for a moment and took a deep breath. Then let us find Junior sister first. Junior sister is definitely locked up in the palace now. If we directly fly to the palace to snatch her back, we might not even need to snatch her back. When they hear us say our sect, they might be scared witless. Tai Hongguang seemed to be very confident. Actually, as long as they went to other empires, the other party's king would be scared stiff and wouldn't dare to say anything. This was the strength of the Tianliang sect. In the Northern Liang sect, they were the sky. Yun Ting also seemed to have been influenced by Tai Hongguang, and felt that what his senior brother said was right. With such a powerful Tianliang sect backing them up, what was there to be afraid of? Therefore, the two of them directly flew towards the palace. But in Wuxia Empire, flying was forbidden. Anyone who dared to fly into Wuxia Empire would be killed. Tai Hongguang and Yun Ting didn't understand and flew towards Wuxia Empire without any thoughts. Only after flying did they realize that Wuxia Empire was indeed magnificent. It was much bigger and longer than they had imagined. Chapter 770. Suddenly, the two of them were blocked by 4 figures. 4 white armored warriors stood in the void, looking at the two of them with killing intent. Tai Hongguang and Yun Ting were slightly surprised. This was the first time he had seen a country's guard have the ability to fly. This was an ability that only a doshi possessed. Could it be that all the guards in this country were at least doshi? That was impossible. Furthermore, there isn't any fluctuation of do qi on these 4 people. How is this possible? Senior? Yun Ting murmured, clearly asking what they should do. Tai Hongguang felt ashamed. He was actually blocked by a small empire. Tai Hongguang's hand condensed, and a long sword appeared in his hand, giving off an unbreakable aura. Meanwhile, The commoners that were entering the city looked towards the sky in puzzlement. They were able to see the sky, but they were only able to see 6 little black dots. Was this an intruder? To think that the guards of the Voidless Empire could actually fly into the sky. That was way too frightening, wasn't it? He wondered if they would be a match for those 2 people. Tai Hongguang instantly erupted with a fierce dou qi, and the long sword in his hand immediately slashed towards the 4 white-armored warriors. White cool chop. Any disciple of the Cold Sky sect would know this move, and Tai Hongguang felt that this move was enough. Go to hell, you scum. The 4 white-armored warriors did not move at all, and the silver sword qi pierced through their waists. Seeing this scene, Tai Hongguang felt a little proud. Beside him, Yun Ting also admired his senior. With one strike, he had killed 4 dou shurs from the other party. Senior brother is indeed powerful. Junior sister, look. It's just a... Tai Hongguang said proudly. Senior brother. You're really amazing. Yun Ting gave him face and praised him. As expected, Tai Hongguang became even happier after hearing his junior sister's praise. However, the 2 of them realized that the 4 people opposite them were expressionless, as if they were not injured at all. Senior brother. Yun Ting had a bad premonition. Tai Hongguang also noticed the abnormality, because none of them was bleeding. How was this possible? His sword qi had pierced through their abdomens. There was actually no blood. Were they not human? White-armored warriors, they are all filled with snow water. Do you think that they have blood or not? An inconceivable scene occurred. The abdomen that had been cut off had actually merged back together. Tai Hongguang's eyes were filled with shock, while Yun Ting, who was beside him, immediately condensed a long sword. One of the white-armored warriors said coldly, barging into Wuxia Empire. Dang! Just as the word die was uttered, Yun Ting saw the person disappear. A section of her hair slowly fell off, as if it had been cut off by a sharp blade. Because this Tsong Kong Hong was very stubborn. I fed him food, but he didn't eat, as if he was throwing a tantrum at me. Tsong Kong Hong was speechless. When did I need you to take care of me? Can't a grown man like me eat? Open your mouth. Did you hear me? Mu Ran was a bit angry. I have already taken care of you so much, yet I don't even know why you are throwing a tantrum. It's fine if you are throwing a tantrum, but why did you have to save me? This is a contradiction. Tsong Kong Hong secretly took a look at Mu Ran, and discovered that this girl's eyes were a bit red. Soon after, Tsong Kong Hong retracted his gaze and remained silent. After quite a while, Mu Ran stabilized her state of mind, then said lightly, if you don't treat me well, I won't feel guilty towards you. Tsong Kong Hong was saying in his heart, I am merely following orders to protect you. That wasn't my original intention. Even if you are angry, you should eat your fill first before you get angry. Mu Ran said lightly, then brought the food to Tsong Kong Hong's mouth once again. At this moment, Wei Chong walked into the room and coughed lightly. Wei Chong then sent a voice transmission to Tsong Kong Hong and threatened him. His honor wants you to obediently eat your fill. After hearing that, Tsong Kong Hong opened his mouth and ate the food. That's right, every part of Tsong Kong Hong's body was big, but his facial features were small. Mu Ran let out a breath of relief and looked at Wei Chong gratefully, then began feeding Tsong Kong Hong mouthful by mouthful. Looking at this scene, Wei Chong revealed a smile. In actuality, Mu Ran is a good girl, she knows how to take care of people. Chapter 771. Tang Wei, who was standing outside, called Wei Chong out, then looked at the 2 people on the bed and asked, Uncle Wei, do you think they have a chance? I don't know. Wei Chong said lightly. Right now, it could only be said that Mu Ran had a good impression of Tsong Kong Hong. However, Tsong Kong Hong doesn't seem to have any feelings for Mu Ran. She hasn't even eaten for the past few days. She is so stubborn and wants to save face. She even brushed past Yue Hua. Could it be that Mu Ran also wants to save face and let others leave in anger? I feel that Mu Ran has been very gentle these past few days. Look at Mu Ran's gaze. Teske. She has completely fallen in love with her. Tang Wei laughed lightly. Look at the current Mu Ran. When she was feeding Tsong Kong Hong, her beautiful eyes were filled with tenderness. The most important thing was, Mu Ran didn't dislike Tsong Kong Hong for being ugly. This was a very big problem. After all, Tsong Kong Hong's face was indeed too horrible to look at. Normal people wouldn't be able to take it. Song Kong Hong risked her life to save Mu Ran twice. As long as it's a kind-hearted girl, she would be touched. Wei Chong had his own opinion. In this Kangluo continent, girls were rather traditional. It was very normal for girls to devote themselves to someone when they couldn't return the favor. It's a pity. Look at that Song Kong Hong, she doesn't seem to have any feelings for Mu Ran. Tang Wei said helplessly. Right now, Mu Ran has already lowered herself. As long as Song Kong Hong is slightly more attentive, Mu Ran definitely won't be able to run away. Where else can I find such a considerate wife? Wei Chong shook his head. Song Kong Hong and Yuehua just broke up. How can she fall in love with someone else so quickly? That's true, it's just that pitiful Mu Ran. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have tried to pull strings with her. Wei Chong poked Tang Wei's forehead. It's better for you to mind your own business. Humph, if you are capable, give me a child. Right now in Guda Principality, Feng Yongzhong was currently talking to his son, Feng Yun, regarding the attack on Wuxia Empire. Father, don't worry. Your son will definitely return victorious. Feng Yun was very confident. His first general seemed to be about to appear, and as long as he obtained a high-level general, he would be able to sweep through everything. If he got a character like Daji, he would be even more awesome. Feng Yongzhong thought very highly of his fourth brother. He patted his son's shoulder and said, Yuner, father is waiting for your triumphant return. When the time comes, I will set up a banquet for the entire imperial city and the entire country will celebrate. I won't let you down. I'm good. However, according to the news from our scouts, the city walls of Voidless Empire are very tall. Is 100,000 soldiers enough? Do we need more? Feng Yongzhong was also a little worried. After all, this was Ulfor's first battle. If he failed, others would laugh at him. So, he must not fail this time. He could only win. Feng Yun cupped his hands and said, Don't worry, Imperial Father. 100,000 soldiers are enough. When the time comes, I will take down the head of Wuxia Empire's emperor for Imperial Father to see. All right. Imperial Father will be waiting. After a pause, Feng Yongzhong continued, If you run into people from the Cold Sky sect, be careful. Imperial Father, I understand. And then go and prepare. We'll set off tomorrow. Yes. Gong Zhang cupped his hands and retreated. Then, he walked out of the study, his face brimming with confidence. Destroying the Wuxia Empire was the first step in his conquest of the Kangluo continent. Then he must do it beautifully. At this moment, outside the Guda Duchy, hundreds of thousands of soldiers had already started to gather. It was a black mass of people. Everyone's face was filled with battle intent, and their aura was extraordinary. As for the powerful Guda Duchy, this was only 1/10 of their military force. This was Feng Yongzhong's practice for his son. As for whether all of them could return alive, that would depend on their own abilities. On the other side, Yun Ting, who was escaping in a hurry, was so scared that her face turned pale. She was curious why they didn't chase after her to kill her. Although she was confused, Yun Ting didn't think too much about it. Now, she could only rush to the Cold Sky sect and report this matter to her teacher and sect leader. This voidless empire was very scary. Even the guards were Do Shurs. So scary. After forcefully using Do Qi to support her flight for a day, Yun Ting finally saw the Cold Sky sect. The huge pressure disappeared at this moment. It was as if she had seen her mother. Instantly, she became weak and fell at the foot of the mountain of the Cold Sky sect. The entire Cold Sky sect was located on top of a towering mountain peak. The size of the mountain was extremely huge. It seemed as if there was some kind of life being nurtured within it. Many buildings were constructed around the mountain peak, and from time to time, human figures could be seen walking around. Yun Ting's teacher was also an elder and was a well-known person in the Cold Sky sect. And the news of Yun Ting fainting at the foot of the mountain spread very quickly. Did you hear? Senior Yun fainted at the foot of the mountain today, and her corpse was picked up by a junior who was passing by. Of course I heard about it. The entire Cold Sky sect knows about it. Speaking of which, Senior Yun is so strong, why would she faint? Also, Senior Tai didn't come back. Could it be that something happened? That's possible. Otherwise, Senior Yun wouldn't rush back like this. She definitely has something to report. Hearing what you said, I feel that something big is going to happen. Sigh maybe. Chapter 772. Just as Ma Ji finished speaking, Yun Ting, who was on the bed, slowly opened his eyes. Yun Ting, who opened his eyes, was a bit confused. He turned his head and looked, and his eyes suddenly turned red. "Teacher!" Yun Ting cried and threw himself into his teacher Fang Meiying's embrace. "Yun Ting, don't cry, teacher will help you." Fang Meiying lightly caressed Yun Ting's back and comforted him. He thought that Yun Ting must have been quite frightened. Lan Gu looked at Yun Ting with a grave expression and said slowly, "Yun Ting, tell us what happened. Why are you like this? Where is Mu Ran and where is Tai Hongguang?" Yun Ting stood up from his teacher's embrace and said while choking with sobs, "Sect Master, Senior Marshal Brother. Senior Marshal Brother was killed. Junior Marshal Sister Mu Ran was also captured." Hearing Yun Ting's words, the three's expression turned gloomy. "I didn't expect that someone would really anger Tianliang's sect. What guts! Not only did they kill Tai Hongguang, they even kidnapped someone from the Heaven's Law. Who is it? Who dares to do this?" Ma Ji questioned angrily. For so many years, Tianliang's sect had always been the symbol of authority. I didn't expect that someone would dare to trample on this authority. Do they want to die? It's a place called Wuxia Empire. Thinking of those 4 white armored warriors, Yun Ting trembled slightly. That kind of fear was spreading in his heart, and it would accompany him for his entire life. Wuxia Empire? Lan Gu was puzzled. "I don't recall hearing about this place in northern Liang." Yun Ting nodded. "Yes, Wuxia Empire occupied the former Lingtai kingdom and transformed it into a majestic city. Guda Principality originally wanted to take it back, but Junior Marshal Sister Mu Ran was kind-hearted. If she went to Wuxia Empire alone, I'm afraid that she would be in danger. After Senior Marshal Brother and I heard about it, we immediately rushed to Wuxia Empire. We were indeed shocked by Wuxia Empire, but when we entered, we met 4 guards." Fang Meiying asked confusedly, 4 guards? What kind of guards?" "They were the guards at the city gate. They were wearing white armor." Yun Ting recalled the scene, and his eyes revealed fear. Ma Ji asked, "You guys can fly?" "That's impossible. How can an empire's guard be able to fly?" Ma Ji exclaimed with a face full of disbelief. Lan Gu, who was at the side, was also slightly surprised and listened quietly. Yun Ting hurriedly said, "Elder Ma, Yun Ting did not lie to you." At that time, Senior and I were also curious. After all, flying is something that only a Do-Shi can possess. Senior was not afraid, so we attacked them. At this point, Yun Ting's lips twitched like a shocked rabbit. "And then?" Lan Gu asked in a low voice. "Then their abdomen was injured by Senior Brother's sword Qi, but the injury healed," Yun Ting said while trembling with fear, and his voice was trembling a bit. This sentence shocked the 3 of them. This was the first time they had heard of such a healing method. "It was illogical," Yun Ting continued. "One of them was very fast. I didn't even feel anything before he beheaded my Senior Brother. Instant kill. The other party had actually instantly killed a 9th-tier Do-Shi. How was this possible?" Even Lan Gu's expression changed. A city gate guard of an empire was able to instantly kill a 9th-tier Do-Shi. Impossible. Then how did you escape? Ma Ji asked curiously. Yun Ting cried and said, "I also don't know. At that time, I knew that I wasn't their match, so I turned around and escaped. They didn't chase after me." Fang Meiying let out a breath and said softly, "All right, rest for a while. Leave the rest to us." "Teacher, that place is very evil." Yun Ting grabbed onto Fang Meiying's hand and said softly. Fang Meiying nodded her head and followed Lan Gu out of the room with Ma Ji. The 3 of them stood outside. Lan Gu stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the vast northern Liang land. "What do you guys think?" Lan Gu asked indifferently. Ma Ji cupped his hands and said, "Sect leader, I feel that what Yun Ting said is true. But those 4 guards might not be real guards." "What do you mean?" Lan Gu asked indifferently. "I guess that those 4 guards are definitely experts in disguise and are bluffing," Ma Ji said in a deep voice. This kind of deduction was indeed possible. "Sect leader, what Ma Ji said is not without reason. What the other party did is to make us fear them and be cautious," Fang Meiying said softly. Lan Gu let out a deep breath after hearing, Our Tianliang sect is a big sect in northern Liang. Today, our disciples were killed. Heaven's disciple was even captured. If such news were to spread, where would our Tianliang sect's face be? Seems like our Tianliang sect has not displayed our strength for too long. Let the world forget about our Tianliang sect's prestige. Along with Lan Gu's words, a majestic aura spread out. Feng Meiying and Ma Ji shouted out respectfully, "Sect leader, we are willing to fight. Let the enemy pay a painful price. Let the prestige of our Tianliang sect rise." Alright. Tianliang sect has 1 million disciples. I order the two of you to lead 100,000 disciples each and let the world see the consequences of provoking our Tianliang sect. Yes. Yes. Feng Meiying and Ma Ji both accepted the order and went to make various arrangements. Meanwhile, Lan Gu returned to the summit of the mountain and looked at the horizon with his brows slightly knitted. On the national highway of Guda Principality, 100,000 soldiers were already advancing towards Wuxia Empire. At the very front of the army, Feng Yun sat on a white warhorse. The warhorse's body was wrapped in silver armor, and it looked quite imposing. Together with the silver armor on Feng Yun's body, it was done in one go, and his bearing was extraordinary. Behind Feng Yun were Xia Yu and Ding Wenba. Ding Wenba was here to assist Feng Yun. After all, he was worried, so he sent someone to follow him. Xia Yu was the former Lingtai Kingdom's royal family, and following him was just an excuse. After all, they needed a reason to attack openly. At this moment, Feng Yun looked at his summoning time, and it was already in the countdown. Thinking about it, he was really excited. Who knew what kind of general or beauty would appear? Just thinking about it made him a little excited. He hoped that a beauty would appear first. He wanted one that could fight and warm the bed. Arrange it. As he thought about it, Feng Yun couldn't help but sway with a rhythm. Behind him, Ding Wenba and Xia Yu were very happy and confident when they saw the fourth prince. Their hearts also calmed down a lot. They were just afraid that they would encounter an idiot, and that wouldn't be good. The further north they went, the more it started to snow. The temperature also plummeted, and the speed of the 100,000 soldiers also slowed down a lot. After all, they still had to follow them with rations. Fortunately, Feng Yun had already prepared clothes to defend against the cold. Otherwise they would definitely have to stop, and that would waste a lot of resources. Chapter 773. He wished he could kill his way over right now, cut off everyone's heads, and hang them at the city gates as a demonstration. This was the result of provoking my Cold Sky sect. Two groups of people were attacking Wuxia Empire. Looking at their speed, the people from Guda Principality should be the first to arrive. After all, they were a lot earlier than Wuxia Empire. However, Tianliang sect had battleships. 10 battleships were carrying 200,000 disciples, and they were heading towards Wuxia Empire. This scale was much larger than the Duchy of Guda. Even the disciples with the lowest level of cultivation were Dojia. Right now, Yihua was currently having an affair with his sister-in-law, and recently, he fell in love with this kind of feeling. "Brother-in-law, does it feel comfortable?" Qing Yutong asked coquettishly as she lightly caressed onto Yihua's abs. "I really love it so much that I can't bear to let go of it. I wonder if Big Sister has ever touched my abs like this before." Yihua patted onto Qing Yutong's perky butt. "Yutong, your martial arts are getting more and more profound. Didn't Yutong want to make brother-in-law happy? Haha, Yutong is still the one I like the most." Yihua felt very comfortable. Being served by his sister-in-law was especially comfortable. This was something that Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji were unable to achieve. Qing Yutong pouted her small mouth and said, "Brother-in-law, then can you let Yutong feel comfortable as well?" Yihua raised Qing Yutong's beautiful face and asked curiously, "How do you want to feel comfortable?" "Brother-in-law, you are playing with Yutong again, you know it." Qing Yutong was extremely bashful, she felt very shy. "Yutong then beg me." "Brother-in-law, you are so bad." Qing Yutong thumped onto Yihua's chest with her small fists, causing Yihua to feel great. Qing Yutong is just this charming, this kind of temperament that cannot be found on Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji. Yihua's finger lightly slid across Qing Yutong's red lips and asked curiously, "Yutong, what if our relationship is found out by your big sister?" "Brother-in-law, you're done for." "Yihua." Brother-in-law forced himself on Yutong. Yutong couldn't resist at all. Yihua couldn't help but smack onto Yutong's perky buttocks. Yutong, you've become more daring. Brother-in-law, it hurts. You still know pain? You should reflect deeply on your actions. I will go and take a look at the children. Yihua sat up and stretched out his arms. Qing Yutong pouted her small mouth and stood up. With her beautiful body exposed to the air, Qing Yutong carefully helped Yihua get dressed. Brother-in-law, it's a promise. Next time, you must make Yutong comfortable. Yihua pinched onto Qing Yutong's little face. All right, I will let you feel comfortable next time. Really? Qing Yutong was originally joking, and she didn't expect that her brother-in-law would actually agree to it. Hee, when have I ever lied to anyone? Qing Yutong, brother-in-law is acting cool again, lying to people every day. After arriving at the children's bedroom, Yihua saw that God Yi and Yi Lu were sparring with each other every day. The two little fellows were becoming more and more powerful, and it was said that they were currently researching new martial techniques by themselves and testing them non-stop. As for Ali and Yi Yan, they go out of the palace every day to play outside. They are really two extremes of character. However, Yihua didn't ask Ali and Yi Yan to be bitter. After all, they were still children, and it was still better for them to play around. In the future, they would naturally work hard to become stronger. Dad. When the two little fellows saw that their father had arrived, they both stopped. When there was no one around, they would call him father. When there was an outsider, they would call him father. Yihua nodded his head and stretched out both of his hands. God Yi stood at the same spot without moving, while Yi Lu threw herself into her father's embrace with a smile on her face, then lightly kissed onto her father's cheek. Lu, what kind of martial technique did you and Big Brother come up with today? Yihua hugged onto his daughter and sat in the pavilion at the side. Yi Lu laughed lightly. Dad, Big Brother and I are still continuously pondering, and we should be able to come up with a powerful martial technique. The two of you have done well. Father rarely has to worry about you. Yihua gave a verbal praise to the two of them. This caused God Yi, who was standing at the side, to reveal out a happy smile. To be praised by my father, that is a kind of acknowledgement, which means that I and my sister didn't put in so much effort for nothing. After hearing that, Yi Lu was also very happy. She kissed her father again, then snuggled into her father's embrace. After a period of time, the two of you will have a long-term mission. Yihua said faintly. This idea had always been lingering in his mind. On one hand, it was to train the two of them to be independent, and on the other hand, it was to let the two of them have their own space to think. However, right now, Yihua just didn't know what Qing Ye and Donghuang Baiji were thinking about. Because this was a long-term mission, it might be 10 years before he could see the children. To be honest, Yihua also didn't have the heart to do that. However, my child has already grown up, and an eagle should be set free. If the eagle were to always stay by my side, it wouldn't be able to accomplish anything great. Daddy, is this for real? God Ye's eyes sparkled with excitement as if he had been longing for this for a long time. Yihua nodded. Daddy, what's the mission? Yi Lu asked curiously. Daddy had finally given her a mission, which meant that she had grown up. Yihua said gravely, the duration of this mission is rather long, and the two of you will have to stay outside for a very long period of time. Perhaps when we meet again, the two of you will already be as tall as me. Hearing their father's words, the two little fellows were stunned for a moment, and then the excitement in their eyes faded away. Yi Lu hugged his father tightly, seemingly reluctant to let him go. God Yi looked reluctant as well, walking to the side and hugging his father's arm. Looking at the reluctance of his son and daughter, Yihua let out a deep breath. You are all good children, but you will all have your own sky. As your father, I hope that you will be strong and independent. Understand? God Yi and Yi Lu took in a deep breath, then said in unison, Daddy, we understand, we accept Daddy's mission. Yihua patted onto the little fellow's head. Daddy still has to get your mommy's approval, otherwise your mommy might ignore Daddy. The two little fellows didn't say anything, seemingly a bit heavy. Yihua stood up. The two of you should think about it properly. Otherwise, you can leave after a few years. Properly accompany your mommy. And Daddy, we understand. Yihua smiled in gratification, then walked out of the children's bedroom. Looking at their father leaving, Yi Lu said slowly, Brother, let's go accompany mommy. The two little fellows also realized that they had been training every day and didn't spend much time with their mother. If they were to really leave, they would be reluctant to part with their mother. Thus, while they still had some time left, they should make the best use of the time to accompany their mother. Walking in the palace, Yi Hua's brows slightly wrinkled. If I really let all the children leave, Qingya and Baiji would probably scold me to death. After all, Kangluo continent wasn't a place to play around. Back then, even my main body had fallen, let alone the children. However, this was also for the sake of tempering their minds. I still have to harden my heart. Chapter 774. Long live His Majesty. The two black-armored soldiers at the door shouted respectfully. Yi Hua silently walked into the palace, and to his surprise, he discovered that Mu Ran was currently supporting Blue Sky Red as they walked. This surprised me a little. It seemed like Song Kong Hong had finally let go of Yue Hua. It was true that Song Kong Hong let go of Mu Ran, but he had no choice but to be served by Mu Ran. He couldn't hurt her, so he could only listen to her. Cough. Yi Hua coughed lightly. When Mu Ran saw the emperor at the door, she immediately knelt down and shouted, "Long live the emperor!" "Get up." "Thank you, your majesty." Yi Hua walked towards the garden at the side and sat on the pavilion in the middle. Mu Ran hurriedly poured a cup of tea for Yi Hua. Mu Ran had no way to deal with this temperamental emperor. "After staying here for so many days, have you gotten used to living here?" Yi Hua asked faintly while sipping a mouthful of tea. Mu Ran stood on one side, slightly bowed her head and said, "I'm fine." Yi Hua looked towards Song Kong Hong who was behind Mu Ran and asked, "You seem to treat this bodyguard of yours quite well. Have you taken a fancy to him?" Mu Ran. This was the first time that an emperor had asked her such a question. Mu Ran was a little flustered and did not know what to say. Song Kong Hong who was behind Mu Ran was startled as well. Why did his honor ask Mu Ran this question? How could Mu Ran possibly like me? Seeing that Mu Ran did not speak, Yi Hua said in a light voice, "That's true, who would like someone who is so ugly?" Sky Red's attack indicated that it had received 10,000 damage. "Your Majesty, it's not like what you said. Although Song Kong Hong's looks aren't good, he's kind-hearted." Mu Ran hurriedly said. Yi Hua sneered, "There are a lot of people who have a kind heart. You are talking back to me again." "Your Majesty, please forgive me. Looks like I'll have to punish this guard of yours again. Compared to punishing you, punishing him will make your heart ache more." Mu Ran was startled. She cursed herself and hurriedly lay down. "Your Majesty," I spoke out of turn. "Please don't punish Blue Sky Red anymore. His injuries haven't healed yet." "Oh? Are you saying that I can be punished just because I've recovered?" Mu Ran was a bit on the verge of collapsing. "Which emperor is this? All right, get up. I was just joking with you." Yi Hua said faintly. This Mu Ran, she really can't take a joke at all. She has a serious look on her face. Mu Ran let out a sigh of relief, stood up slowly and said respectfully, "Thank you, Your Majesty." At least he knew how to talk. "Your Duchy of Gouda has already sent troops here." "Ah!" Mu Ran cried out in surprise. "We'll be able to reach it by tonight. Hundreds of thousands of people." Yi Hua said faintly, not taking it to heart in the slightest. In fact, he was even a little happy. It's finally here. "I, the Supreme Overlord, have already waited for a very long time." Mu Ran knelt down again. "Your Majesty." "It must be because I've been here for too long that the king is like this." "Your Majesty, don't be rash." Also, the Heavenly Cold sect has also sent 200,000 disciples over. They should arrive today. These words made Mu Ran's ears ring. The Cold Sky sect had also come, and it was 200,000. How was this possible? "Your Majesty, please allow me to go out of the palace and negotiate with them. If not," Mu Ran said in panic. "It would be good if this matter was explained clearly. There is basically no need for us to fight each other." Before Mu Ran could finish her words, Yi Hua interrupted her. "What? Do you think I'm afraid of them?" "Your Majesty, it's not like that. This is all a misunderstanding. As long as I explain it to them, they won't attack this place." Yi Hua laughed lightly. "Childish. You think they're here for you? They are just looking for an excuse." "That's right, I forgot to tell you, a few days ago, there were two reckless people who trespassed into Wuxia Empire's airspace. One died, and the other ran away. They should be people from your heavenly cold sect. Mu Ran slowly raised her head and looked towards Yi Hua, and shock could be seen in her eyes. Your Majesty, why did you want to kill them? Mu Ran, why did you have to ask such a stupid question? My door is wide open and welcomes everyone, and yet, they trespassed into my airspace by flying. By letting one of them go, it should be considered as giving you face. Yi Hua said faintly. Letting one of them go is just so that she can go back and report to me, not because I'm giving you face. Mu Ran's beautiful face was at a loss. For 2 heavenly cold sex disciples to come and look for me, it is very likely that they are my senior brother and senior sister. This Wuxia empire is incomparably strange, the door is wide open, and you two can come in. Why did you two have to fly? Your Majesty, was the one who died a man or a woman? Mu Ran asked in a low voice. It's a man. No wonder heavenly cold sect would send out 200,000 disciples over. It must be for the sake of taking revenge. And they had already misunderstood that I was tied up here, and that's why they did this. All of this is because of me. Looking at Mu Ran's sad expression, Yi Hua asked curiously, my people killed heavenly cold sex people, don't you want to take revenge now? I can't defeat you. Mu Ran said lightly. She was very clear of her current situation. If she were to take revenge, then everyone else would have to die. At least you have some self-awareness. There will be a huge battle tomorrow. Do you have any thoughts on it? Yi Hua asked. Your Majesty, I will be able to end this battle. Please believe me. Hee Mu Ran, you are looking down on me too much. After finished speaking, Yi Hua stood up and left the place. The teacup on the stone table was still giving off steam. Mu Ran sat on the ground in a daze, and her gaze was lifeless. Heavenly Cold Sect and Gouda Principality both came over, and they brought along 300,000 people, and within this Wuxia Empire, just how many guards are there? They have never even seen a regular army before, so how can they possibly be a match for 300,000 people? When the time comes, the ones who are going to suffer will still be the commoners. Song Kong Hong looked at the despondent Mu Ran and wrinkled his brows. He slightly bent his body, seemingly wanting to grab onto Mu Ran's tiny wrist and pull her up. However, he hesitated, and in the end, he still stood at the side and watched. His honor did not say that this battle will end. I still have to protect her. Yi Hua returned to his bedroom, and he was looking forward to their arrival. Just when he walked into the bedroom, he heard the joyful voices of his wife and child, and they seemed to be talking about something interesting. Walking in, Yi Hua saw that it was actually God Yi and Yi Lu who were accompanying his mother. Looking at the smile on Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji's face, Yi Hua had not seen the smile for a very long time. He remembered that back then, when Yi Yan had just been born, Qing Ya had such a smile on her face. However, the second child gave birth to 2 ice cubes. They spent all day brandishing their weapons and rarely played around with their mother. On the other hand, Ali and Yi Yan knew how to please their parents. Towards God Yi and Yi Lu's reaction today, the 2 mothers did not think too much about it, and they simply immersed themselves in the happy atmosphere. Daddy! When the 2 little fellows saw that their father had returned, they greeted out respectfully. Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji blinked their beautiful eyes towards Yi Hua, seemingly saying that they were especially clingy today. Chapter 775. Where are Ali and Yen? Are they not back yet? Yi Hua asked curiously. I don't know where they ran off to, Qing Ya said tenderly while hugging onto her daughter Lu. Meanwhile, Yi Lu was currently snuggling into her mother's embrace. Because father said that the next time I see mother, I might already be as tall as mother. Right at this moment, Dong Huangli brought her little brother back. Dad, Mom, Ali is back. Dong Huangli already had the appearance of a beautiful woman. In a few more years, she would probably be even more beautiful than her mother. Yi Yan was also a handsome guy right now. He would always have a smile on his face. When he grows up, he will definitely be a warm man. However, the 2 little fellows discovered that their little brother and little sister were different today. They are actually acting spoiled in their mother's embrace. Did the sun rise from the west today? The 2 of you come over. I have something to say to the 2 of you, Yi Hua said towards Ali and Yi Yan. Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji were a bit confused. Yi Hua's tone was a bit strange. Yi Lu and God Yi knew what their father wanted to say. Meanwhile, Donghuang Li and Yi Yan followed their father out with a look of confusion. The 3 walked on the gravel path outside the bedroom, Ali Yen the two of you have grown up. Dong Huang Li and Yi Yen took a glance at each other. What does father mean? It is very obvious. A mission is coming. Yes. Dad, you can be at ease. We promise to complete the mission. Dong Huang Li vowed. There is nothing in this world that Ali can't complete. Yi Hua smiled and nodded, then patted onto Yen Er's head. The mission this time is different. Dad, what's different? Yi Yen asked curiously. Dad brought the two of you to watch 007 in the past, right? Dong Huang Li and Yi Yen were delighted. They love this kind of special agent mission the most. Ali, Yen the mission duration is a bit long. Yi Hua said gravely. Dong Huang Li asked curiously. Dad, is it very long? Could it be a month? Big sister, how can it be a month? At most, it will be half a month. Yi Yen said with a smile. Yi Hua sighed lightly then said slowly. If it is long it might be 10 years. During these 10 years, the two of you will be wandering outside. Hearing what their father said, Dong Huang Li and Yi Yen stopped their footsteps, and their tears immediately flowed out. Father, don't you want Ali and Yen any more? Dong Huang Li felt that it had been a very long time since she last cried. Yi Yen, who was at the side, was also crying bitterly. He wasn't excited at all. Yi Hua immediately squatted down and lightly hugged onto Ali and Yen Ali Yen the two of you can't always live under my halo. In the past I have already talked to the two of you about this. Woo, but Daddy, it's been too long. What should I do if I miss you? What should I do if I miss Mommy? Dong Huang Li said while choking with sobs. Yeah, Yen will miss it very much too. Yi Hua took a deep breath, then said to his son, a man's ambition is to travel far and wide. Yen, you have to understand. Ali, although you are a girl, you are still my daughter. Just like Yen and the others, I hope that you all can understand. But Daddy, Ali can't bear to part with you. Dong Huang Li's tears wetted her father's imperial robe. How could Yi Hua be willing to do that? However, he had to steel his heart. You can also give up the mission, but your brother and sister have already agreed. Yi Hua decided to provoke the two of them. These two little fellows are really sticking on to their parents, and Yi Hua was worried that they would have bad habits in the future. Sure enough, after hearing what Yi Hua said, Dong Huang Li rubbed her eyes. Really? Both brother and sister have agreed? Yi Hua nodded his head. Daddy. Yen also agrees. Yi Yen immediately expressed his stance. Since both brother and sister have agreed, how could he, as the big brother, possibly fall behind? There are no cowards in Yi family. Good. This is Daddy's good son. Yi Hua said with a smile. Dong Huang Li was still choking with sobs. Daddy is good and bad. Since Ali has completed Daddy's mission, Daddy must give her a reward. All right, whatever Ali wants, Daddy will give it to you. Yi Hua lightly wiped away his daughter's tears. In that case, Ali wants to stay by Daddy's side forever. Among the four children, Dong Huang Li was the one who liked her father the most, and also the one who cherished her father the most. After all, in the beginning, Dong Huang Li didn't have any fatherly love, and now that she did, she was very happy. Hearing what his daughter said, Yi Hua hugged onto Ali once again. All right, Daddy agrees. And Daddy cannot lie to Ali. When have Daddy ever lied to anyone? Yi Hua lovingly pinched onto Dong Huang Li's cheeks. Dong Huang Li's baby fat cheeks had long disappeared, and right now, Dong Huang Li's face had already turned into a small oval face. All right, let's go back and accompany your mother more. Yi Yen nodded his head. Daddy, does Mommy know about this matter? Daddy hasn't told Mommy about this matter yet. I will tell Mommy about it tonight. Yi Hua was also planning to let the children accompany their mother, and then set off 1 month later. Dong Huang Li said worriedly, Daddy, you have to tell Mommy about it then. If not, Mommy will definitely not allow you to go. And Daddy knows. Yi Hua let out a light breath. Qing Ya and Dong Huang Baiji will definitely quarrel with me. What a headache. Dong Huang Baiji brought the two little fellows into the bedroom, and when Dong Huang Baiji saw that her daughter's eyes were red, she asked, Ali, why are you crying? Mommy, Ali pounced onto Dong Huang Baiji's embrace, while Yi Yen pounced onto Qing Ya's embrace. The two goddess-like women who were hugging onto their son and daughter discovered that something was wrong. Yihua stood at the side and remained silent, not knowing what to say. The night gradually descended, and with the information provided by White Bones, Yihua knew that the enemy army was still 20 miles away from Voidless Empire, and they had already set up camp and were resting. They would probably attack tomorrow morning. On the other side, the Tianliang sect was ready to go. After listening to Yihua's words, Yihua started pondering. This is my first battle after coming to Kangluo continent. I have to do it beautifully. They had waited for several months for this battle. Their numbers had to come up. At the very least, after this battle, the total population would reach 50%. As for how to fight tomorrow, to be honest, I haven't thought about it yet. It was a one-sided victory. It was still a semi-one-sided victory. Or should it be like before, giving a little hope and then a little despair? I've already played this trick before. I have to think of something more interesting. Only then will I be able to display my majesty. Yihua, who was lying on the soft bed, was pondering. Right now, both Qingya and Donghuang Baiji had already taken a bath, and they were currently wearing light pajamas as they walked over. Both of them were calmly leaning against their husbands' sides. As for Yihua, he naturally hugged his wives. Yihua, I feel that there is something wrong with the children today. Donghuang Baiji said in a low voice. Chapter 776. Listening to the conversation between the two women in his embrace, Yihua felt that there was a need to talk to them. Because I plan to send them out. Yihua said faintly. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji clearly did not understand what Yihua meant. Give it away? Where are we going? Qingya asked puzzledly. Yihua lightly caressed onto Qingya's cheek, a very far-away place. Donghuang Baiji immediately sat up and asked sternly, Yihua, what is the meaning of this? In the past, I have also told you all that my child is different from others. From a young age, he has to learn to be independent. Now, it is about time for him to do so. Hearing what Yihua said, the two wives looked at their husbands blankly. You want the children to leave us? Qingya's tone became a bit cold, to the point where it seemed like she was about to quarrel with Qingya. Don't even think about it. Donghuang Baiji was even more straightforward. Ali is only 8 years old, and my son, Godyi, is only 5 years old. How is it possible for such a young child to walk in this kind of world? What if something happened? How could there be such a cruel father? Yihua had long known that the two of them would have this kind of emotion. Which mother would be willing to part with their child? Thus, Yihua didn't blame them. They have all agreed to accompany you for a month, and then they will set off. Yihua said gravely. In actuality, I am also reluctant to do this, but for the sake of the children's future, I must do this. Qingya said coldly. No wonder God Yi and Yi Lu seem to have become completely different people today. Donghuang Baiji even shook Yihua and said with a choking tone, You heartless person! Where are you going to send my daughter and son? Yihua paused for a moment. In actuality, he had long thought of what to do. In the south, there are a few very formidable powers, and they are my old rivals in the past. I am preparing to let them sneak into the south to train. After I clean up all of the powers in the north, I will prepare to take action. Qingya looked at her husband blankly and shouted out, Yihua! You actually used your own child to take revenge. Are you even human? You too. Am I taking advantage of the children? I am giving them a better space to develop. If they stay by our side, what can they develop? What if the child becomes an ignorant and incompetent person in the future? Yihua shouted out gravely. How can I, the Supreme Overlord, possibly use a child to take revenge? How long are you going to take my child out of here? Yihua, let me tell you. 1 month at most. If not, I will hate you. Donghuang Baiji cried for real. Yihua said gravely, if it's fast, it would be around 10 years. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were stupefied, then shouted out in unison, Yihua! I'm telling you! Unless we die, don't even think about taking them away. After finished speaking, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji got off the bed and left. Looking at their actions, they were definitely going to look for the children. This was too much. When Yihua saw his wives walking out angrily, he didn't step forward to explain anything. After all, this was within his expectations. Lightly rubbing onto his forehead, Yihua felt a bit annoyed. If I insist on letting the children leave, I reckon that the children will not give me a good look for the next 10 years. Forget it, I'll just coax him a little when the time comes. This child will definitely be a little uncomfortable when he leaves his parents' side. Wasn't it the same for the main body? Sigh. I should just have a good sleep. There are still important things that I have to do tomorrow. Qing Ya and Dong Huang Baiji directly went to the children's bedroom. After that, the two mothers hugged onto their children and bawled loudly. The little fellows had all fallen asleep, and the mothers didn't say anything and just hugged onto their children and bawled loudly. This is so strange. Holding onto the children's hands, Qing Ya said with her beautiful eyes that were red and swollen, Yen Lu, come with mother. That heartless father of yours is going to send the two of you to a faraway place, and he won't allow us to see each other anymore. Ali, Shen let's go back together. Don't bother about that heartless father anymore. Dong Huang Baiji said with pain in her heart. Yihua actually had such a terrifying idea. Dong Huangli wiped off her mother's tears and said lightly, Mother, we have already promised father. Yi Yen lightly hugged onto his mother. Mother, actually, we have been waiting for this day for a very long time. Hearing what the children said, the two mothers were stupefied. Yi Lu held onto her mother's hand and said lightly, Mother, we are the children of the Supreme Overlord. We cannot compare ourselves with other children. We have to work hard 100 times, 10,000 times. Only then will we be able to bring honor to Father. This time, Father has given us a chance. Big brother and big sister are very happy. Just that we are very reluctant to part with Father and Mother. Although Gaji didn't say anything, he lightly snuggled into his mother's embrace. In the next 10 years, he might not be able to hug his mother anymore. After Qing Ya and Dong Huang Baiji heard what Yihua said, they were certain that Yihua had brainwashed the children. For the entire night, Dong Huang Baiji had been persuading the children not to go, and in the end, the children were all unwilling to go. This caused Qing Ya and Dong Huang Baiji to become even angrier. I don't know how Yihua managed to make the children so unswervingly loyal to him. On this night, the two mothers accompanied the children to sleep, while Yihua was thinking about how he should deal with the matter that was in front of him. In actuality, there were still two people who didn't sleep, and they were Mu Ran and Song Kong Hong. Mu Ran sat in the pavilion outside and looked at the full moon in the night sky while pondering about a problem. Meanwhile, Song Kong Hong stood at the side and carefully protected Mu Ran. After all, his honor's order cannot be forgotten. Mu Ran knew that Song Kong Hong was standing right beside her. Although Mu Ran didn't say anything, Mu Ran was still surrounded by a sense of security. As long as Song Kong Hong was by her side, Mu Ran wouldn't be afraid of anything. The night gradually faded, and the sky gradually turned bright. Today was the day that Wuxia Empire would become famous. Commoners were already appearing on the streets one after another. However, they discovered that the city gate was actually not open today, and there were even rows of guards standing below the city wall, seemingly waiting for something. Everyone was curious. What is going to happen? The number of guards on the city wall had doubled compared to before. Furthermore, some of the patrolling guards were asking all of the commoners to go back to their houses. Could it be that a war is going to start? Right now, all of the commoners were starting to worry. If Wuxia Empire loses, then the beautiful life that we have right now would be destroyed once again. I hope that Wuxia Empire doesn't lose. Right now, Wuxia Empire had finished all of their preparations, and right now, all that was left was to wait for the enemy to come. Right now, Yihua was wearing a yellow gown. Forget about the crown, Yihua feels that it doesn't look good on me. I might as well put on some hair wax. However, Yihua didn't summon his subordinates like how he usually did. There is no need to make such a big deal out of a small matter like this. Low-key. Yihua didn't go and look for his subordinates, and instead went to look for Mu Ran. His meaning was very clear. He wanted Mu Ran to follow him to take a look. Upon hearing that, Mu Ran became joyous. I think that the Emperor wants me to go and explain things to the Emperor. Is Yihua like this? Chapter 777. As a bodyguard, Song Kong Hong naturally followed behind Mu Ran. Mu Ran did not stop Song Kong Hong from following, as though he was used to Song Kong Hong standing guard. The three of them walked onto the royal road and headed towards the city wall. Climbing a flight of stairs that was more than 100 zhong high, A table had already been set up, and breakfast was placed on it. Speaking of breakfast, ever since Qing Ya and Dong Huang Baiji went out last night, they had yet to return. I reckon that they must be very angry. He had originally wanted to bring them up to show off, but it seemed like that was not going to happen. My emperor! Today, it was the blood race sisters, Serena and Serena. This had been decided a long time ago. They were considered new faces, so it was easier for them to show up. Yihua took a look at the two sisters who looked exactly the same as him and felt that LV Tao, that fellow, is lucky. I heard that he had been cuckolded in the past, but I didn't expect that after being cuckolded, he would still have such luck. Looking at this pair of twins, every detail was exactly the same. It was really hard to tell who was the older sister and who was the younger sister. Today, they even wore a sexy red maid outfit. Interesting. Actually, LV Liang was often confused as well. Even though they had been together for so long, her younger sister, Serena, was much more mischievous. However, as long as she put on an act, she would be exactly the same as her older sister. She would often get one wrong, but it was precisely this feeling that made her feel good. You guys will never understand how great it is to be the subordinate of a supreme being. Not only is this boss valiant, he also knows how to find wives for his subordinates. Where else can you find such a good boss? There isn't one in this entire world. Yihua slowly sat on the chair. Serena respectfully poured fine wine for Yihua, and her big sister Serena was at the side arranging the tableware. Mu Ran stood at the side, looking at the endless snow. Reporting to my emperor. We'll be there in an hour. White Bone's voice suddenly resounded in the air. This gave Mu Ran a fright. She didn't know where this person was talking to. Just how many powerful subordinates did the emperor have? Got it. This subordinate will take his leave. Yihua looked at the delicacies in front of him. All of them were made by the blood demon. Right now, these delicacies are becoming more and more in line with my taste. Especially this Jianbing fruit. The taste is exactly the same as the Jianbing fruit, and the Jianbing fruit has a bit of warmth to it. This blood demon sure knows how to make me happy. Mu Ran, sit. Yihua said faintly. I wouldn't dare. If I tell you to sit, then sit. Do you really have to make this empress unhappy? Yihua said in a low voice. The matters at home are already vexing enough, and today, I finally have a chance to change my mood. Mu Ran muttered in her heart as she slowly sat down beside him. Eat. Yihua said indifferently, then picked up a pancake that had eggs and ham added on. He took a big bite. How fragrant. Mu Ran also picked one up and handed it to Blue Sky Red. Yihua and the Blood Tribe sisters naturally saw this action of hers. TSK. 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 It seemed that Mu Ran had taken it to heart. However, Song Kong Hong was still in a daze. He was so stupid that he could die. Mu Ran lightly took a bite, and felt that this strange food was indeed delicious. I really want to ask how this food is made, and in the future, I can also make it for her. Thinking of this, Mu Ran shook her head. How could she think like this? Mu Ran, when they come later on, what are you going to do? Yihua finished off Mu Ran in one or two moves, then leaned on the throne and asked casually. Mu Ran paused and said, Your Majesty, please believe in Mu Ran. All right, this empress will believe you this once. But what if they insisted on attacking? You think you can stop an army of 300,000? Or is it safer for me to keep you here? Mu Ran remained silent after hearing what the emperor said. What the emperor said is right. If I am here, they might not make a move, but if I am outside, they will be able to make a move without any restraints. Yihua looked at Mu Ran and seemed to be a bit silent, then said faintly, I am naturally not afraid of them. It is fine for me to keep all of them here today. I want their blood to dye this snowfield red. What a magnificent scene that would be. After hearing what the emperor said, Mu Ran felt that the emperor was bragging. 300,000 people. How can you possibly stop them? Your Majesty, just let Mu Ran give it a try. Mu Ran will use my life as a guarantee. Yihua laughed. Mu Ran, are you saying that if I fail your life will belong to me? That's right. Mu Ran will definitely be able to persuade them to retreat. All right. I will believe you this once, but Mu Ran, let me tell you this. If you fail, then don't blame me for being ruthless. These 300,000 people cannot be returned. Yihua said coldly, and a surge of killing intent immediately erupted out from his body. Mu Ran said respectfully. Mu Ran understands. Just that, Mu Ran didn't take Yi Hua's last few sentences to heart. I thought that it was the emperor's joke, and I can only rely on myself to convince them. Suddenly, black dots appeared on the snowfield that stretched as far as the eye could see. Looking at these black dots, Yi Hua was a bit excited. They are finally here. That's right, the people who are coming are from Guda Principality. The fourth prince, Feng Yun, was riding his horse at the front, and his expression was a bit astonished. Not only Feng Yun, Ding Wenba and Xia Yu who were at the side were the same as well. There were even a lot of soldiers who were rubbing their eyes, as if they were looking at a mirage. This is Lingtai Kingdom? Xia Yu said in disbelief. In my memory, Lingtai Kingdom's walls were made of wood, but looking at the walls right now, the walls are dazzling with gold and jade, the walls are 300 meters tall, and the imposing aura it gives off makes people feel intimidated. This is simply even more majestic than Guda Principality. If I were to take over Lingtai Kingdom and become the king of Lingtai Kingdom, how awesome would that be? Xia Yu, is this really Lingtai Kingdom? Feng Yun mumbled, not daring to believe what he saw. Replying to General, this is indeed Lingtai Kingdom. Xia Yu said respectfully from behind. Unbelievable. Ding Bowen muttered with a face filled with astonishment. After the astonishment, Feng Yun revealed a light smile. I was just worrying about not having a good city. After I take over Lingtai Kingdom, I will be able to use the city for myself. As for this Xia Yu, after making use of him, I will be able to leave with a peace of mind. Dying on the battlefield, this idea isn't bad. Very quickly, the 100,000-strong army entered into the shooting range of the bow and arrow and stopped. Yi Hua waved his hand, and an old man picked up an ordinary bow and arrow, then pulled the bow and shot the arrow in one go. Everyone looked at the bow and arrow drawing a beautiful arc in the air. After that, the arrow landed 3 meters away from Feng Yun's horse. Feng Yun immediately burst into laughter. His laughter caused everyone behind him to burst into laughter as well. Amidst the laughter, a row of white-armored soldiers shouted towards the sky. Those who cross the line die. Right after Feng Yun finished speaking, the drummers at the back started beating the drums. Dong dong dong. The drumming sounds were earth-shattering, seemingly piercing through the entire world, causing everyone to be excited. Even the commoners in the city wanted to rush out and fight on the battlefield when they heard the drumming sounds. Of course, this was bad news for the enemy. Their laughter was drowned out by the drumming sounds, and when the enemy heard the drumming sounds, their morale immediately dropped by a lot. Chapter 778. Just as Feng Yun was scolding himself for not bringing a band with him, a black sound suddenly rang out. The sound was so loud that it actually overpowered the sound of the drums. Yi Hua stood up with a smile on his face. Battleship. This is a bit interesting. I haven't seen this thing for a long time. I really miss it a bit. Mu Ran, who was at the side, also looked towards the sky with a taut face. The people from Tianliang sect are here. Feng Yun raised his head and stared at the dark sky, his brows slightly wrinkled. This seems to be the sound of the battleship's horn. General! This should be the people from Tianliang sect. Ding Wenba, who was at the back, reminded softly. Feng Yun really didn't expect that the people from Tianliang sect would also want to get a share of the loot. Right now, I am still relatively weak. I cannot let Wuliang sect discover anything. But to Xia Yu, the more people the better. This way, it will be more stable. Suddenly, 10 enormous battleships surged down from the clouds. As if they had broken through the clouds, they brought along traces of clouds and mist. This kind of scene was very spectacular, and it was very ostentatious. The 10 battleships were arranged neatly, just like an enormous tortoise shell in the sky. The flag of Wuliang sect was hung on the poles, and there seemed to be a lot of people standing on the deck. They were densely packed. At the start, these people were very excited, but after seeing the scene, they became astonished. From the sky, one could have a good view of Wuxia Empire. The first feeling. The second feeling. The second feeling. The big. The third feeling. The long. Is this Wuxia Empire? Is this still an empire? This is simply even grander than my Tianliang sect. Looking at this dazzling city and that towering palace, this is undoubtedly showing off my heroism. Especially that city wall, it is so tall. When people stand below it, they are just like ants. Ma Ji and Feng Meiying, who were leading the group, were a bit astonished. Hearing Yun Ting say it was one thing, but seeing it for themselves was another thing. At the start, they even felt that Yun Ting was exaggerating a bit, but looking at it now, they realized that Yun Ting was not exaggerating at all. Furthermore, Yun Ting even said it tactfully, fearing that he would hurt Tianliang's sect's morale. Elder Feng, this Wuxia Empire is not ordinary. Ma Ji lightly stroked his beard and said faintly while staring at the man who was wearing an emperor robe on the city wall. Feng Meiying nodded silently. Elder Ma, we should be more cautious. Mu Ran is still in their hands. Yes, but it's a good thing that the Duchy of Gouda is here. Ma Ji smirked. Those people could be used as cannon fodder. Feng Meiying knew what Ma Ji meant, so she silently agreed. If it was really a trap, the ones who would die would be those ordinary people. Her own sect's disciples wouldn't have to die. Come down. Feng Meiying said indifferently. She did not choose to enter through the air because she had a bad premonition. If they attacked from the sky, they would be too densely packed. As long as they destroyed 10 of the battle arcs, they would be finished. Yi Hua looked at the battleship that was slowly descending, and a dense mass of people walked down from the battleship. The number of people walking down from the battleship was double that of the people in Gouda Principality. Looking at the battleship from the top of the city wall, the scene was indeed a bit spectacular. Do you recognize all of these people? Yi Hua asked curiously. Mu Ran nodded and said, I know them all. Introduce them to me. Mu Ran exhaled deeply. The general of Gouda Principality is 4th Prince Feng Yun. Feng Yun, what do you think of this person? Feng Yun is the most outstanding among the princes, and the king also has the intention to give the position of crown prince to Feng Yun. Mu Ran said respectfully. I understand now. This Feng Yun wants to come back and become the crown prince. His idea is not bad. Just that, he doesn't use his brain. Yi Hua lightly leaned on the city wall and looked at Mu Ran with a playful expression. Mu Ran remained silent. This emperor is so smart. He guessed it so quickly. What about the people from Tianliang's sect? Mu Ran said gravely. The people from Tianliang's sect are my teacher, Feng Meiying, and Ma Ji, Elder Ma. Since your teacher is here, you have to persuade them. If not, your teacher is going to fall here today. I am not joking with you. Yi Hua said indifferently while looking down at the army that was not far away. With 300,000 people lined up, the scene is truly grand. However, it is useless to have so many people. I can deal with them with just a snap of my fingers. However, that is too easy for you all. Without any fluctuations in your hearts, how can you all display despair and fear? Hearing what Yi Hua said, Mu Ran was a little unconvinced and said lightly, My teacher is a rank 1 Do Huang, and Elder Ma is also at the peak of the King realm. He is also just a step away from becoming a Do Huang. All right, stop explaining. In my eyes, they are all the same, salted fish. Yi Hua said indifferently. Mu Ran pursed her lips. This is the most boastful emperor that I have ever seen. On the other side, Feng Yun jumped down from his horse and obediently came to the front of Tianliang sect's army. I am Gouda Principality's 4th Prince Feng Yun. Greetings to the 2 seniors. After Feng Yun finished speaking, he cupped his hands. He was very low-key and did not have the airs of a prince at all. However, in his heart, he secretly swore, I will return this scene to you all sooner or later. I, Feng Yun, am a transmigrator with a system. The heavens have destined that I will become popular in the entire Kangluo continent. Ma Ji took a look at Feng Yun, then ignored him. On the other hand, Feng Meiying nodded her head towards Feng Yun. Gouda Principality sure is considerate. Of course, of course. Feng Yun lowered his head and replied while cursing in his heart. Afterward, Feng Yun felt awkward. The other party seemed to have stopped talking, and I have been lowering my head like this. It seems like I am a joke. Furthermore, I am doing this in front of 300,000 soldiers. I have truly lost all my face. Elder Ma, could it be that this is a trap? As a woman, Feng Meiying was rather vigilant. Ma Ji didn't act impulsively and said to Feng Yun, Go and get someone to pass the message. Feng Yun didn't dare to say anything and directly obeyed the order. In his heart, he wished that he could get rid of these 2 fellows. After returning to his own camp, Feng Yun immediately called Xia Yu. General, what's the matter? Xiaoyu shouted out respectfully. It's nothing big, I just want you to go and pass the message. Feng Yun said faintly, and his expression wasn't very good. Ah! Xiaoyu cried out in surprise. Isn't this a big matter? This is equivalent to sending someone to die. Feng Yun's gaze turned cold. What? Are you thinking of disobeying a military order? I don't dare. Xiaoyu hurriedly lowered his head and replied. Disobeying a military order would result in death, but passing the message might not result in death. This fourth prince is trying to get someone else to do his dirty work. If it's so vicious. Xiaoyu didn't have any other choice and asked, Fourth prince, what do I want to ask? Just have them hand over Mu Ran. All right. Xiaoyu rode on his horse and looked at the city wall in front of him. He had a strange feeling that he was going to die soon. Also, that arrow just now, it said that those who pass the arrow will die. I wonder if that is true or not. Chapter 779. Right now, Xiaoyu was trembling with fear. If tens of thousands of arrows were to shoot at him, he would definitely be turned into a hornet's nest. Just thinking about it made his scalp numb. Yihua looked at Xiaoyu, who walked out from the army. Who is this person? He is the former royal family of Lingtai country. Mu Ran said lightly. Those who didn't know would have thought that the two of them were together. They were actually chatting casually. Yihua understood. So that's the case. Interesting. Yihua waved his hand toward Serena, who was behind him. The latter ignored him and immediately started making arrangements. Xiaoyu rode his horse and arrived at the center of the city. The cold wind caused his arms to become stiff. He could only look up at the 300 tall city wall. Just as Xiaoyu was panicking, the war drums suddenly sounded out again. The war drums this time were different from before. The war drums brought along a very impassioned mood. Flags could be seen being erected on the city wall. Along with the cold wind, an enormous pressure immediately swept over. How could the warhorse that Xiaoyu was riding on endure such an imposing aura? It immediately became very agitated. Xiaoyu accidentally fell off the warhorse and landed on the snowy ground. He was in a sorry state, and the warhorse immediately ran away. Seeing this scene, Yihua revealed a smile of disdain. Truly a little weak, unable to be brought onto the stage. Xiaoyu, who landed on the snowy ground, was very embarrassed. His originally pale face had now become red. Right now I can only walk up. With heavy footsteps, Xiaoyu gradually walked to the city gate and discovered a problem. Even if I shout till my throat breaks, the people on the city gate won't be able to hear me. Just as Xiaoyu was thinking of a way, the huge city gate actually slowly opened. This caused Xiaoyu to unconsciously take a step back. The battle is imminent, and they actually opened the city gate. What is the meaning of this? Right now, Ma Ji and Feng Meiying were also very puzzled. They didn't understand the other party's intention. This is too careless, isn't it? Everyone looked at the city gate, seemingly wanting to see who would appear. However, everyone was about to be disappointed. The person that appeared was not a human. It was a husky. Sending out a dog. Is this a mockery from Wuxia Empire? The 300,000 troops were burning with rage. This is a blatant mockery. To send out a dog to negotiate, this is too much. Mu Ran also saw that Yun Lang had walked out. She was puzzled. Yun Lang was looking down on the emperor. Why would the emperor do this? This would infuriate the other party. Even if she wanted to reconcile later, it would be impossible. Letting a dog out. His Majesty. Mu Ran couldn't help but ask curiously. Yihua took a look at Mu Ran, then said faintly, "This is already thinking very highly of them." Mu Ran did not speak. She was thinking about what she was going to say later. Below, Xiaoyu saw a dog walking towards him. That silver fur, those strange eyes, seemed to be revealing something. He couldn't move at all. What kind of dog was this? How could it have such an ability? Yun Lang circled around Xiaoyu and sniffed the air out of conditioned reflex. After that, he discovered that. Why did I have to sniff the air? I am not a real dog. I am a fake dog. Seems like I have gotten used to being a dog recently, and all of my actions are subconscious. Yun Lang gave Xiaoyu a disdainful gaze and slightly raised his head. This was the contempt of a king. Suppressing the panic in his heart, Xiaoyu yelled, Let Mu Ran go. I'll spare your lives. Yi Hua was naturally able to hear Mu Ran's words and said with a smile, "This person's tone is rather big. What do you think, Mu Ran?" Mu Ran did not speak. She felt that she wasn't a hostage at all, but rather an accomplice. Yun Lang shook his head. "Seems like you can't do it. Change to another one." In order to achieve fairness, Yun Lang took small steps and walked towards the 300,000-strong army, and his gaze emitted out a different kind of coldness. Death gaze. Xia Yu hurriedly turned around and ran. His words had also arrived. At this moment, the scene became strange. Yun Lang walked over with his head held high and chest puffed out, while Xia Yu was panicking and would even fall down from time to time. This made the 300,000-strong army blush with shame, and they wished that they could kill this fellow who lost his imposing manner. Look at other people's dogs. Shouldn't you learn from their footwork? Just like that, I lost the first round. Humans can't be compared to dogs. Not long later, Yun Lang arrived in front of the 300,000-strong army, and as if he was inspecting his own army, it made everyone want to eat dog meat. After all, in this freezing weather, having a plate of dog meat should be very refreshing. This dog is a little strange, Ma Ji said gravely. Feng Meiying also felt it. Although she couldn't put her finger on it, but this dog was definitely not an ordinary dog. Yun Lang could be seen stopping in front of Feng Meiying, then turning around, he raised his leg and gestured, seemingly wanting Feng Meiying to follow him. Don't go, Ma Ji said in a low voice. Feng Meiying paused for a moment. Don't worry, nothing will happen. Towards this kind of dog, Feng Meiying was also very puzzled, but she didn't take action to kill it. If she took action just now, the situation should be even more joyous. If that was the case, Yun Lang would be able to have a full meal. Yun Lang walked at the front, and Feng Meiying followed behind unhurriedly. Feng Meiying appeared to be very confident. After all, she was the strongest out of everyone. Rank 1 Do Huang. Yun Lang directly brought Feng Meiying into the city, and soon after, the city gate closed. The 300,000-strong army was filled with admiration in their hearts. As expected of an elder of Tianliang's sect, just this kind of spirit, who can have it? Charging into a tiger's den alone. Awesome. When Mu Ran, who was on the city gate tower, saw that her master had entered, she became very excited, not knowing what the emperor was doing. Yi Hua asked indifferently, "You are going to meet with master soon, are you very happy?" "Your Majesty. Just what are you trying to do?" Mu Ran completely didn't know, but at the same time, she really wanted to know. Yi Hua didn't speak and lightly leaned on the city wall, waiting for Feng Meiying to come up. Feng Meiying, who was following behind Yun Lang, was also very puzzled. This dog seems to be bringing me to meet the emperor. Could it be that he isn't afraid that I will directly kill the emperor? Or could it be that he isn't afraid at all? Should I make a move and kill the emperor later on? I have to think about it now. The city gate tower that was 300 meters tall wasn't that easy to climb. After quite a while, Yun Lang brought Feng Meiying to the top of the city wall. Then, Yun Lang squatted at the side and guarded. "Teacher!" Mu Ran shouted out excitedly, and immediately pounced into Feng Meiying's embrace. Yi Hua looked at Mu Ran and did not stop Mu Ran. After all, the reason why he called Mu Ran up to Feng Meiying was because he wanted to see the relationship between the two of them. "Ran, are you all right?" Feng Meiying asked concernedly as she stroked onto Mu Ran's hair. Mu Ran nodded her head. "Master, I am very good. The emperor treats me very well too." Speaking of the emperor, Feng Meiying raised her head and looked towards Yi Hua. "The impression that this person gives me is a bit frivolous. As an emperor, he is actually slightly leaning on the wall, and he doesn't have any poise at all. Other than that kind of handsome face of his, he is still somewhat useful. Also, the two women that are at the side, their attire is so revealing with just a look, they are definitely not good people." Chapter 780. Should he just kill him now? No. He was an elder of the Wuliang sect. If he were to kill him in this situation, he would definitely be laughed at. After all, the emperor had invited him here, and if he were to kill him, it would be very shameful. After all, the other party looked very weak. Feng Meiying stood in front of Mu Ran and looked at Yi Hua vigilantly. Yi Hua said faintly, "Don't be nervous, I won't harm you." Feng Meiying was speechless. "I'm considering whether or not I should hurt you." But you said you wouldn't hurt me. Where did your confidence come from?
Teacher, nothing will happen,
Mu Ran said. Mu Ran seemed to have a lot of trust in Yi Hua. When Feng Meiying heard Ran'er's words, she immediately felt that something was wrong. Why was Ran'er speaking up for the other party? Was he under some kind of spell? Feng Meiying quickly held Mu Ran's hand and checked her physical condition. Yi Hua did not stop them and waited quietly. Master, I'm fine. I'm fine, Mu Ran whispered. Feng Meiying was very confused. Ran, was actually fine, but this was too abnormal. I rather admire this disciple of yours. Yi Hua said faintly. What do you want? Feng Meiying asked coldly. Yi Hua laughed lightly. You all brought people to my territory, and you all are asking me what I want to do? There's something wrong with your logic. Of course I'm here to look for my disciple, Feng Meiying said in a deep voice. Is that so? Then, does this emperor understand that once we bring the hostage away, you all will retreat? Yi Hua asked faintly. Feng Meiying frowned slightly and did not reply. At this time, Mu Ran hurriedly advised. Master, the emperor has already promised to let me go. Don't attack. That's right. Mu Ran is right. After all, these are 300,000 lives. Although it looks good to dye the snow red, it's too cruel. Mu Ran was speechless and hurriedly explained. Master, His Majesty didn't mean that. Her disciple had repeatedly interceded with the emperor, causing Feng Meiying to be in a bad mood. The most urgent thing to do now was to take Ran'er away. I'm taking him away. If you want to stop me, then come and try, Feng Meiying said coldly and grabbed Mu Ran's hand. Sure. Yi Hua didn't plan to force Mu Ran to stay. Follow Master. Teacher. Wait a moment. Mu Ran hurriedly said to Yi Hua, Your Majesty, my... Yi Hua knew what Mu Ran wanted to say. Don't worry, I won't go so far as to make things difficult for ordinary people. Mu Ran nodded, looked at Song Kong Hong behind her, and reached out to hold her hand. This action made Feng Meiying's face sink. This strong man was wearing an iron mask. What was his relationship with Mu Ran? Thousands of curses floated out from Song Kong Hong's heart. This Mu Ran actually grabbed my hand in front of so many people. He really wanted to shake it off. But his honor has given me an order, I can't shake him off. Master, he saved me twice, Mu Ran explained. Feng Meiying glanced at Song Kong Hong and flew back to her camp with the two of them. Looking at the three people leaving, a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. When the 300,000 soldiers saw that Elder Feng had brought them out, they immediately cheered in victory. Elder Feng was truly amazing. This was the first time he had seen someone being taken away by the emperor. This emperor is definitely afraid and doesn't dare to offend the mighty Tianliang sect. When Feng Yun saw that Mu Ran was brought back, he slightly wrinkled his brows, seemingly not very happy. Why did the other party let Mu Ran go so easily? Could it be that the other party is really afraid of Wuliang sect? This is not a good thing. Tianliang sect brought so many people over. How could they possibly leave so easily? Could it be that Tianliang sect wants to take this city for themselves as well? Feng Yun's guess was indeed correct. Before Tianliang sect came over, Tianliang sect didn't have any thoughts of taking over the city. They only wanted to exterminate the city. However, right now, Tianliang sect wants to take over the city as well. After all, this Wuxia Empire is truly magnificent. If Tianliang sect were to move over to Wuxia Empire, it would also be something that would gain face for Wuxia Empire. After returning to the camp, Mu Ran shouted out respectfully towards Ma Ji. Elder Ma. Ma Ji smiled slightly. Mu Ran, it's good that you are fine. Mu Ran feels guilty for making Master and Elder Ma worried. Ma Ji smiled, then began discussing something with Feng Meiying. Meanwhile, Mu Ran was very puzzled. Didn't Master say that we are leaving? Master, what are you doing? Aren't we going back? Mu Ran asked confusedly. Feng Meiying looked at her disciple and said gravely, Mu Ran, do you know how your senior brother died? Mu Ran nodded her head and said in a low voice. Mu Ran heard about it. Senior brother trespassed into Wuxia Empire's airspace and was killed. However, senior sister is fine. Hearing what Mu Ran said, Feng Meiying and Ma Ji were a bit stupefied. Are you blaming your senior brother for trespassing into someone else's territory? Mu Ran, do you know what you are saying? Feng Meiying reprimanded coldly. Mu Ran also knew that what she said just now was wrong, and felt that she was speaking up for Wuxia Empire. Master, I didn't mean it like that, but if we were to fight today, someone would definitely die. Mu Ran doesn't want. Before Mu Ran could finish speaking, Ma Ji said gravely, Mu Ran, today, we are not only here to save you. We are also here to redeem Tianliang sect's dignity. But master, just now you already agreed. Shut up. Are you their people or mine? Feng Meiying shouted out, and she even wanted to slap Mu Ran. Ma Ji said faintly, Mu Ran, in such a small place, do you think that someone would die? In just a few minutes, we would trample over this place. Master. But just now, you clearly promised the emperor that you would. Slap. Feng Meiying still couldn't help but slap Mu Ran. Song Konghong, who was standing at the side, moved slightly, but in the end, she still stopped and didn't make a move. I am here to protect Mu Ran. Meanwhile, Mu Ran held onto her face and looked at Master in disbelief. This is the first time that Master has slapped me. Mu Ran, look at your position clearly before talking to Master. Feng Meiying shouted out. Mu Ran became silent. I finally know why that emperor said that. What he said is right, even if I come out, they still wouldn't leave. Because I am just an excuse for them to mobilize their troops. Yi Hua, who was standing on the city wall, saw everything. Little Mu Ran, you are really pitiful. You got slapped by Master, right? You really don't know how to look at the situation. I still need to learn more. Seeing that it was about time, Yi Hua slowly walked down the stairs. Within the army, Feng Yun stood respectfully in front of Feng Meiying and Ma Ji. In his heart, Feng Yun was scolding Feng Meiying for being so shameless, to actually want to let our own people become cannon fodder. But right now, other than agreeing to it, I don't have any other choice. Mu Ran, who was standing at the side, didn't have any other choice. This magnificent Wuxia Empire is going to be occupied. I can't let them retreat and deceive the emperor. If I am still in his hands, it might be a bit better. Chapter 781. General, are we going to be cannon fodder? Ding Wenba asked at the side. Feng Yun's expression was gloomy. If I wait until I become stronger, the first one I will destroy will be Tianliang sect. Go and arrange for the siege, Feng Yun said gravely. Right at this moment, Feng Yun heard a cry of surprise coming from outside and immediately walked out of the tent. Wuxia Empire's gate could be seen opening once again. This time, someone came out. 2 rows of white armored warriors walked out of the city gate in an orderly manner, forming a long line. Suddenly, a golden carpet was laid out from the city, and it just so happened to be in the middle of the white armored warriors, giving off the feeling of a nouveau riche. 300,000 people are just quietly watching. What is the meaning of this? The 2 rows of white armored warriors suddenly stopped their footsteps and stood facing each other. They instantly raised the flag of Wuxia Empire and crossed it together. And in the city, 3 figures appeared. Yi Hua stepped on the golden carpet, and the Blood Race sisters followed behind him. The 3 slowly walked out. Everyone took in a breath of cold air. This emperor sure knows how to act cool. And there are 300,000 spectators watching him act cool. Right now, Yi Hua was feeling very good. Although there wasn't any big scene, this kind of low-profile acting cool still felt very good. After walking to the end of the golden carpet, Yi Hua stopped his footsteps. At this moment, the sunlight in the sky suddenly shifted and actually shone on Yi Hua's body, causing the emperor's gown to shine brightly, looking very dazzling. This added a different kind of acting cool. 300,000 people looked at this emperor, and their minds were all stupefied. This is the first time. This is really the first time. Yi Hua, who was standing below the flag, said to the 300,000 people, Heavens! If you all retreat, I will let bygones be bygones, but if you all continue to persist in going about things the wrong way, this snowy land will be the best place for you all to return to. I never lie. Everyone immediately became silent. URF** king bragging, right? We haven't even seen the regular army, and you still dare to say that you are going to destroy us. This emperor not only knows how to act cool, he also knows how to brag. Later on, I will let you see what is called awesome. Yi Hua turned around and walked into the city with a smile of disdain on the corner of his mouth. Actually, I can choose not to come out, but I like to be benevolent, so I will still give them a way out. As for their choice, it is unknown. Yihua didn't continue going up the city gate and returned to the palace. I will leave this place to the blood race sisters. It is more than enough.
After all, in this kind of small situation, the Supreme Overlord had already given a lot of face by coming forward to say a few words. When the 300,000 people realized that the emperor did not go up to the tower to observe, they all laughed. The emperor had run away, leaving only the two women to watch the show. Even Feng Meiying and Ma Ji felt the same way. There was a light smile on their lips. This city was too easy to come to. It was really effortless to come here. The emperor was probably preparing to escape through the secret passage, leaving behind two women to bring up the rear. However, Mu Ran, who was behind him, did not think so. The emperor was definitely not someone who would run away. And those subordinates of the emperor, only two women came out. Those two women seemed to be standing at the back that day, and those people who were standing at the front didn't even appear. Mu Ran had a bad premonition. Although her teacher had hit her just now, she still couldn't help but to persuade her teacher again. Teacher? But before Mu Ran could finish, Feng Meiying said coldly, Mu Ran, don't think that you can criticize Master's words and actions just because you are the heavenly Dao now. Mu Ran didn't say anything. Meanwhile, on Feng Yun's side, he was already preparing to take action. The exclusive weapon for breaking through the city gate had already been prepared. It was a huge iron rod that was black, big, and thick. This wasn't any ordinary fine iron, it was made from meteorite iron, and such a big piece of iron was definitely worth a lot. From this, it could be seen that Feng Yongzhang was also very meticulous this time, giving all of the good stuff to his son. However, Feng Yun was rather smart. He only sent 50,000 soldiers to take the lead and charge at the city gate, and the black rod that was being carried by the wheels of the carriage followed along as well.
Kill! 50,000 soldiers roared out furiously, pulled out their swords, and charged towards Wuxia Empire. An austere aura immediately engulfed the entire battlefield. Feng Yun closely observed the situation of the battlefield, and Ding Wenba, who was behind him, wrinkled his brows and said, General, the other party doesn't seem to be moving at all. Feng Yun naturally also discovered that there weren't any archers on top of the city wall, and all of the soldiers were standing on the ground, not having any intention to engage in battle at all. Are they planning to surrender? If that's the case, it's too easy for me, and I have completely given everything to Tianliang's sect. All of the benefits belong to them, and I don't even have the chance to get any leftovers, damn it. However, right at this moment, the sky that was originally clear gradually darkened, and snow started falling once again. The density of the snow made everyone puzzled. I have never seen snow falling like this before. Everything in front of me is actually completely blank, just like a snowy sunset. The hands of the blood race sisters that were standing on top of the city wall were emitting out white light. During these few years, everyone in the team had been training hard. Especially those that were lagging behind, they didn't dare to slack off at all. Strength is indeed very strong. However, from that battle with Nan Wuqi, they also realized that strength isn't invincible, one still needs to know a bit of magic, and this was also the shortcoming of most people. This move of the blood race sisters was taught by Yu Hua. Although it wasn't as powerful as Yu Hua, it was still enough. This kind of snowy sunset only appeared on the battlefield, and the 50,000 soldiers seemed to have lost their target. They couldn't differentiate between north and south, and didn't know which direction they should charge towards. Seeing this scene, Feng Yun didn't know why, but he felt a bit happy. Seems like the other party still has some strength, and I thought that I would be able to deal with them with just my own people. Feng Meiying and Ma Ji's originally relaxed expression gradually became grave. This kind of snowstorm is not normal. Mu Ran looked at the spectacle in front of her, and suddenly felt that the emperor didn't lie to her. The blood of 300,000 people splashed onto the snowy ground. This isn't impossible. The falling snow in the sky gradually turned into hail. The smallest was actually the size of a fist, and the biggest was at least the size of an adult. Falling from a height of 10,000 meters, it was extremely terrifying. Furthermore, the density of the hail made it so that there was no way for people to escape, and the 50,000 soldiers immediately let out miserable screams, and those that had shields immediately raised up. However, when those huge hailstones fell onto the shields, they were unable to withstand it, and they immediately fainted. Then they fell onto the snowy ground and got trampled on by the people beside them, or get hit by the hailstones again. Basically, if the hailstones hit their heads, it would be game over. The miserable screams within the battlefield became softer and softer, and soon, there was nothing left, however, Not even a minute passed by. When the snowy sunset dispersed, only the white snowy ground was left, and everyone was buried within the snowy ground, because there were some places that were still blood red. The remaining 250,000 people were already stupefied. This snowstorm alone buried 50,000 people. This is simply too savage. This is simply inhumane. Chapter 782. That beautiful face was filled with bloodlust, and her eyes were gradually turning red. This was not a cry, but a sign unique to the Blood Clan. Feng Yun stood outside the tent, not feeling sad for the 50,000 dead warriors, and even felt that it was quite good. Now your Tianliang sect should send troops. You can't let me keep sending people to die. However, just as Feng Yun finished thinking, a disciple came over and asked Feng Yun to go over. Feng Yun, of course, didn't dare to disobey, and went to Wuliang sect's camp. Senior Junior's warriors are all ordinary people. We can't do anything about this situation. Please make a decision. Feng Yun said respectfully. Feng Meiying was silent. Ma Ji said indifferently, "Continue sending troops, I have a way this time." Hearing this, Feng Yun's face changed, but he lowered his head so no one noticed. This person is so ruthless. Let all my people die, and then they will find a way to solve this. Tianliang sect is really ruthless. Today I learned something new. Mu Ran, who was standing behind, was also very surprised. Elder Ma actually wanted to send people to die. Is Tianliang sect so unreasonable? Mu Ran had only been in Tianliang sect for a short 3 years. In these 3 years, Tianliang sect didn't have any wars. In Mu Ran's eyes, Tianliang sect was still very good. But today, he saw clearly that Tianliang sect was also a sect that didn't care about human lives. Mu Ran's heart was filled with disappointment. Go quickly. What are you waiting for? Ma Ji shouted coldly. Feng Yun's forehead was bulging with blue veins. Should he say no? If he said yes, and Feng Yun dared to say it, he would die on the spot. A gentleman's revenge is never too late. I, Feng Yun, will remember this debt. Yes. Feng Yun replied respectfully, and then returned to his camp. Ding Wenbo quickly asked, "General, what's wrong?" "Damn Tianliang sect. They're too much." Feng Yun's fist slammed on the table. "General, does Tianliang sect still want us to send people? This is too hateful." "Then tell me, is there any other way? If I don't obey, we will be the ones to die." Feng Yun rubbed his forehead and said coldly, "I swear. I must destroy Tianliang sect." Ding Wenbo didn't say anything, and Xia Yu was still standing on the side. A short while later, Feng Yun waved his hand. "Go make the arrangements." Yes. Ding Wenbo accepted the order and went to make arrangements. This was completely sending others to their deaths. As expected, when Ding Wenbo announced the order, the remaining 50,000 soldiers began to discuss among themselves. Some even disobeyed. However, the general was a ruthless person, killing decisively, immediately suppressing everyone. "Soldiers, Cold Sky sect has an idea this time. It won't be like before." Ding Wenbo shouted loudly, as if he was using this method to stabilize the morale of the army. However, Ding Wenbo was a civil official after all. This kind of rhetoric had no effect at all, and it even attracted more retorts. In the end, he was suppressed. However, the soldiers had no choice. There was an order from above. Even if it was an abyss in front of them, they had to jump in. But was it really worth it? Even if he had to die in battle, at least there would be an enemy. Look at Voidless Empire. Their soldiers are all standing on top of the city walls and didn't come down at all. However, their own people have indeed died. The remaining 50,000 soldiers of the Duchy of Gouda slowly walked out. They no longer had the aura of wanting to kill. Every step they took was very careful. Snow began to fall from the dark sky once again, and the scene was exactly the same as before. This caused the 50,000 soldiers to be terrified to the extreme. In an instant, they began to run in disorder. Hailstones had already formed above the clouds, and as long as the hailstones descend, these 50,000 soldiers would fall once again. Solidify. Ma Ji's hands could be seen immediately forming hand seals, and a yellow light could be seen appearing in the sky. A yellow dot could be seen spreading out in the shape of a fan, enveloping the entire battlefield. The heavy snow immediately stopped. The 50,000 soldiers saw that Cold Sky sect had made their move, and when the hailstones landed on the shield, they were unable to smash into the shield. Gradually, the 50,000 soldiers began to cheer, picked up their blades, and once again rushed towards the city gate. Ma Ji sneered. You dare to be impudent in front of me with such insignificant skills? You are truly courting death. When the hailstones landed on the shield, all of the hailstones shattered. The hailstones were unable to pierce through the shield at all, and the shield protected the 50,000 soldiers below. Just when those 50,000 soldiers were feeling happy, the hailstones in the sky gradually changed. Just like daggers, the hailstones descended from the sky with cold glints. The degree of density of the hailstones caused people to feel numb. Especially for people who had trypophobia, they would feel numb. Countless ice blades forcefully stabbed into the shield, but they were unable to pierce into the shield. Ma Ji was in the middle of releasing the ice blades, and he was continuously strengthening the shield, and cold sweat could be seen appearing on his forehead. Right at this moment, an extremely large ice blade appeared in the sky. Compared to the other small ice blades, those are all ants. This is what Big Brother is. The extremely large ice blade that brought along a cold glint pressed straight towards the shield. Even Feng Meiying was dumbfounded for a moment. What kind of spell is this? It is so powerful. The extremely large ice blade pierced through the shield without any difficulty, and Ma Ji couldn't help but spurt out a mouthful of blood, suffering from the backlash. The extremely large ice blade that landed on the ground was like a small mountain, and in an instant, quite a number of people were crushed to death. Without the protection of the shield, those countless small ice blades that landed on the ground were densely packed, and no one was able to escape from this kind of attack. This was the legendary knife of the underworld. In an instant, all 50,000 soldiers fell onto the ground, and warm blood sprayed onto the snowy ground, forming a magnificent picture. Just like what Yihua said, this snowy ground would be dyed with the blood of 300,000 soldiers. Seeing this scene, Feng Yun found it hard to believe. It's over. This is the first time I went out to battle, and my entire army was wiped out. How am I going to explain this to my father when I return? I am completely unable to explain this to my father. Furthermore, if my father Emperor were to know about this, he would definitely be angered to death. Because this is a battle that paved the way for me. It is all this damn Tianliang sect's fault. Why don't all of you go and die? Elder Feng, are you all right? Feng Meiying, who was at the side, asked gravely. I'm all right, I was careless. Ma Ji said coldly. Just now, I also made a fool out of myself, and I actually vomited blood. If this were to be spread back to the sect, wouldn't I become a laughingstock? Feng Meiying said faintly. Those 100,000 soldiers did not die in vain. I have a way to deal with them. When Mu Ran heard what her master said, her heart skipped a beat. To actually say that those 100,000 soldiers died in vain, I feel that my master has become a stranger in front of me. Following Feng Meiying's command, the 100,000 soldiers of Tianliang sect walked out. This was 100,000 doujia. Their strength cannot be underestimated, and they are truly terrifying. And Feng Meiying already has a way to break the enemy's technique. The 100,000 disciples of Tianliang sect shouted out, and all of them started their charging mode, and Feng Meiying had already started his preparations. However, this time, there was no snowstorm. This made Feng Meiying very puzzled, and the 100,000 disciples that were present were all puzzled. Chapter 783. Looking at the situation, Feng Meiying gradually became serious. The other party does not intend to use the same trick again. What are they trying to do? The 100,000 people at the scene looked at the surroundings vigilantly. The snow on the ground moved faster and faster, to the point that it even swept up the corpses that were just killed. The strange scene made everyone's heart turn cold. Seeing this scene, Feng Yun's back turned cold. Just when did Wuxia Empire appear? Just what is going to happen? Seeing this scene, Mu Ran became even more certain of the emperor's words. If they don't leave, everyone will die here. Suddenly, Mu Ran thought of something. No wonder the emperor handed me over so easily, because he has the confidence to capture me back and let me see everyone's face. What kind of person was this emperor? Why was his mind so meticulous? Every step seemed to be within his calculations. So terrifying. Elder Feng, this Wuxia Empire is a bit strange. Right now, Ma Ji was a bit worried as well. He discovered that things aren't as simple as he thought. Feng Meiying's expression was grave as she turned her head and asked Mu Ran, "You have stayed here for a period of time, just how strong is this Wushu Empire?" No matter what, Feng Meiying was her teacher. Mu Ran said respectfully, "Teacher, disciple does not know how strong they are. This Wushu Empire doesn't have any officials, other than the emperor and the two empresses. There are still 20+ subordinates, and the two people who are standing on the city wall are precisely one of those subordinates." Hearing Mu Ran's words, Feng Meiying and Ma Ji became even more grave. Just a moment ago, they were still laughing at the emperor for running away and leaving behind two women. It seems like the emperor didn't even bother to continue watching and left behind two women to clean up. Just as the two were guessing, a terrifying thing happened at the scene. The snow on the ground quickly moved and formed into 5 snowballs that were 300 meters tall. That was about the same height as the city wall. However, the 5 snowballs actually stretched out their legs, hands, and even their heads. Adding on the legs and heads, the height had already surpassed the city wall, and the 100,000 disciples on the ground were just like ants. What was terrifying was that on the bodies of the 5 snowmen, all of them were people who had just died, and they were all embedded in the bodies of the snowmen. Half of the faces were smashed off, and the snowmen even used 100 human heads as their eyes, causing people to tremble in fear. What kind of monster is this? Ma Ji raised his head and looked at the enormous snowmen and muttered. Feng Meiying didn't know what to say. Her eyes were filled with horror. Mu Ran was also dumbfounded and in disbelief. Beside her, Song Konghong was very calm. If Yu Hua was here, it would be even more spectacular. At that time, it would not be 5, but 50. However, now that he thought of moonlight, Song Konghong felt very calm. This made Song Konghong a little puzzled. When Feng Yun saw this scene, his intestines turned green with regret. Were they paving the way for him, or were they using him to pave the way? This kind of snowman, just one of them would be enough to destroy Gouda Principality, let alone 5 of them right now. Damn it, you immortals are fighting, why do you have to call a mortal like me? Shameless. Shameless. The ones who were most afraid were the 100,000 disciples on the battlefield. They had all forgotten to run, and their faces were filled with despair. No one knew who gave the order to run, but everyone followed. The 5 snowmen didn't do anything else. They just lifted their feet and stomped down. 5 loud sounds rang out across the world, causing the ground to tremble. Even those in Wushu Empire could feel it. It was unknown how many people would die from the stomp of those enormous feet. All of the disciples rolled and crawled as they ran. They didn't have any desire to fight at all. Meanwhile, the 100,000 disciples who were standing and watching the battle felt their bodies go numb. With 5 stomps, at least a few thousand would die, and with a few more stomps, all of them would definitely die. Ma Ji and Feng Meiying took a look at each other, then released all of their duki and condensed into swords in their hands. Immediately, they attacked towards the snowmen. If the two of them didn't make a move now, it would be impossible to save the situation. The 5 snowmen continued to stomp, and the disciples on the ground fled in panic. I don't want to die. Isn't Tianliang sect the strongest sect in northern Liang? Why is there an existence that is even more powerful than Tianliang sect? Don't step on it. No matter how these disciples ran, they couldn't outrun the stomping of the snowmen. The 5 snowmen were just like stepping on ants, one stomp after another. In just a short while, almost all of the 100,000 disciples died on the spot. Sky Profound Sword Technique. Ma Ji shouted out furiously. His peak stage King Realm strength was unleashed with all his might. His body emitted a faint radiance, and the sword in his hand released a sword light that pressed straight towards the head of the snowman. Hua! The sword light easily penetrated the head of the snowman, but what were snowmen made of? They weren't living things. Therefore, this kind of damage could be ignored. The head that was cut open actually gradually closed up, and then, as if nothing had happened, it continued to stomp. How is this possible? Ma Ji, who was holding the sword in his hand, muttered. However, just when Ma Ji was lost in thought, one of the snowmen actually didn't continue to step on the disciples, but instead, sneak attacked Ma Ji. Be careful! Feng Meiying shouted in a delicate voice. When Ma Ji reacted, it was already too late. The snowman's fist fiercely hit Ma Ji's body. Ma Ji's body smashed into the ground like a cannonball, creating a huge pit. The disciples were all stunned. This was Elder Fong, who was at the peak of King Realm. He was actually smashed into the ground by a snowman, and no one knew if he was dead or alive. What kind of strength did these 5 snowmen have? Why were there such monsters in this world? God, please come and take them in. Fong Meiying didn't hold back anymore. She instantly displayed the strength of a first-grade King Realm Do, and a terrifying Do Chi spread out. Illusion Breaker. Heaven's Sword Art. The sword in Fong Meiying's hand flew towards the sky and released a dazzling light. A huge sword image appeared in the sky, and it carried along a terrifying destructive power. I will let you all experience what is called death. Fong Meiying shouted in a delicate voice. Her finger immediately pointed towards the city gate, seemingly wanting to use the sword to cut down the city gate of Wuxia Empire. The huge sword image descended with a terrifying pressure. When the 5 snowmen saw this situation, they actually chose to stand under the huge sword and raise their hands. Those who didn't know might have thought that they were going to surrender. This move was one of Fong Meiying's ultimate moves, and she wouldn't use it unless she had no other choice. After all, this was a trump card. Bang! The huge sword image landed on the hands of the 5 snowmen and released a terrifying aura. This caused the disciples present to be dumbstruck. Is this the strength of a King Realm Do? This is completely not the same level as a King Realm Do. As expected of Elder Fong, she was able to suppress these 5 monsters by herself. Feng Yun was also dumbstruck. This Cold Sky sect is indeed very powerful, and this woman is also the same. To actually be able to suppress the snowmen, she is truly very powerful. Mu Ran was also very surprised. Teacher is truly very powerful. Bang! Chapter 784. The sword images disappeared as well, and Fong Meiying's breathing became a little hurried. Using this ultimate move brought me a very strong feeling of fatigue, but if I don't use it, there is no better way. Right now, the Do Chi in my body is a little chaotic. Seems like attacking Wuxia Empire this time was still too rash. I should have sent a few more elders, or a peak Emperor Realm sect leader, that way, I might still have a chance of winning. But luckily, I managed to get rid of those 5 monsters. Fong Meiying turned her head and looked at Ma Ji, who was in the hole. I don't know if he is dead or alive. I didn't expect those snowmen to be so strong. A peak Emperor Realm martial artist couldn't even withstand a single punch from them. Serena, who was on the city wall, rubbed her little sister's shoulder. You are driving a car again. Big sister, sorry. I was just thinking about what to eat tonight. Serena said apologetically. So embarrassing. Serena rolled her eyes at her little sister. Do you think I don't know you? Don't you know what you want to eat? Sister, you're so annoying. Don't you like to eat it as well? Serene raised her eyebrows. She had a look that said, Aren't you the same? How dare you lecture me? Concentrate. I am doing something. Serena nodded her head seriously. The 2 sisters started casting again. While Fong Meiying, who was in the sky, was thinking, a terrifying Do Chi fluctuation gathered below. Fong Meiying immediately retreated and looked at the pile of snow vigilantly. Everyone felt the terrifying aura that the pile of snow was emitting, and fear appeared in their eyes. Why did I have to come here? Isn't it better to stay in Tianliang sect and train? Why do I have to fight and kill? I hate fighting and killing. If these people had already attacked Wuxia Empire, they would definitely not hate fighting and killing, and might even like fighting and killing. The pile of snow that had already collapsed once again fused together. Just now there were 5 snowmen, but this time, there was only 1 snowman. The height of the snowman didn't change, but its body became more robust. All of the corpses formed every detail of its body. Chest muscles, abdominal muscles, shark lines, mermaid lines, the veins on its arms were all formed by corpses. That huge head was even more terrifying. Blood was still dripping down from it. The huge snowman seemed to have a life of its own as it shook its head and swept its gaze across everyone. The snowman could be seen clenching its fists, slightly bowing its body and letting out a terrifying roar. This roar made everyone's hair stand up, and they could even smell the blood that the snowman spat out. Fong Meiying finally revealed a look of panic. If these snow corpses were only Do Huang's. In that case, he was already a Do Huang. His strength was already on par with him, or even slightly stronger. Fong Meiying couldn't care less. She turned around and shouted,
Retreat! The 10 battle arcs were ready to retreat at any time. Roar! The snow corpse roared angrily and exerted force with its legs. A powerful shockwave burst forth from the ground, and the snow corpse soared high into the air, leaping towards the battleship. The scene left everyone dumbfounded. The snow corpse was like a huge gorilla, using its terrifying jumping ability to draw a beautiful arc in the air. Boom, boom, boom. The snow corpses landed abruptly, and everyone could feel their feet trembling. The battleships were like pieces of wood, crushed by the snow corpses. The other battleships were then used by the snow corpses to play with. The huge battleship was like a child's toy to the snow corpses. Mu Ran gulped and finally admitted a cruel fact. The emperor was not bragging. What he said was the truth. Today, all 300,000 people are going to die here. Light of world, lock! Feng Meiying shouted, and a rope condensed in her hand and flew towards the snow corpse. The purple rope instantly wrapped around the snow corpse and tied it tightly. It was commonly known as Asian binding. Mu Ran! Bring everyone and retreat! Feng Meiying shouted. She channeled all of her Do Qi into the snow corpse and firmly tied it up. The snow corpse that was tied up seemed to be very angry. Its body seemed to have become a lot bigger, and one could even see its muscles expanding. Hearing her master's words, Mu Ran immediately arranged for everyone to retreat. However, how are we going to retreat now? Turn around and run. 100,000 people turned around and ran. Feng Yun didn't have much time to think and immediately rode on his horse and ran. If I don't run now, then when will I run? It's normal for me to stay at home and develop my strength. Why did I have to come out? Isn't it better to hide in the palace and develop my strength? Wouldn't it be better to wait until all the generals are selected before coming out? I am really stupid. However, after running for a few hundred meters, everyone suddenly fell down. Seemed to have bumped into something. One of the disciples who fell down touched onto the ground confusedly. Although he couldn't see anything, it was very obvious that he touched onto something. Some people began to beat onto the ground ferociously, but no matter what, it was useless. Despair. A deep despair spread out in everyone's heart. They were trying to exterminate everyone here. Turning around and looking at that enormous snow corpse, Elder Feng is unable to hold on for much longer. That purple rope seems to be about to break. If we don't run out, everyone is going to die. My emperor gave you all a chance to live. It is you all who did not cherish it. Today, the blood of 300,000 people will be sprinkled onto this land. There will be no mercy. Serena's words drifted into everyone's ears. After the remaining 100,000 disciples heard what Serena said, they began to beg bitterly. I am also obeying the emperor's orders. I don't have the intention to go against you. I beg Wuxia Empire to spare my lives. Mu Ran, who was within the group, was a bit dazed. She didn't know what to do. The emperor had already said these words to me. Why didn't they listen to me and insist on letting everyone die here? Why? Feng Meiying looked towards the blood sisters on the city wall. It seems like she is planning to capture the leader first, and that snow corpse is about to break free. Roar! Before the snow corpse finished speaking, the snow corpse roared furiously, and the purple rope on its body instantly broke apart, transforming into stars and disappeared. The snow corpse glared angrily at Feng Meiying, who was in midair, and the muscles on its body squirmed. Then, the snow corpse shot out explosively. Its speed was so fast that it made one speechless. And Feng Meiying did the same as well. She slashed towards the blood sisters with her sharp sword. The blood sisters looked at Feng Meiying, who was attacking towards them. They did not take any defensive measures, seemingly intending to let Feng Meiying kill them as she pleased. Feng Meiying was overjoyed in her heart. As long as I kill these two women, this snow corpse will disappear. These two demonesses, this elder is going to dismember the two of you into pieces. Feng Meiying's speed was indeed very fast, but the snow corpse wasn't slow either. Although its body was huge, its arms were extremely long. If not, why would others feel that it looked like a gorilla? Go and die! 10,000 spirit magic sword. Feng Meiying shouted out, and the long sword in her hand emitted out a golden brilliance. The little sister Serena said with a slight smile, "Be careful of your back." Feng Meiying's gaze sank, and a huge palm could be seen stretching over, then grabbing out. A terrifying sword aura erupted from the snow corpse's palm.
Chapter 785. Roar. The snow corpse grabbed the spoils of war in its hand and patted its chest with its left hand, as if it was showing off. The remaining 100,000 people saw that their elder had been captured by the snow corpses, with only his head sticking out of the snow corpse's hands. The snow corpses leaped up into the air. Boom! He landed a short distance away from the 100,000 cold sky sect disciples. Everyone was frightened silly and did not dare to move. Now that even a Do Huang elder had been captured, what use did they, as Do Jia, have? The snow corpse slowly stretched out its right hand, and everyone could see Elder Feng's painful expression. The fear in their hearts reached a peak, and some of the timid ones were so scared that they sat on the ground. Master! Mu Ran shouted, and her small body seemed to want to go and save the elder, but Song Kong Hong, who was at the side, pulled her back. Song Kong Hong, let go of me. Although Master just hit me, Master was good to me in the past. How can I watch Master die in front of me? Song Kong Hong directly hugged Mu Ran, not letting her do anything. No matter how Mu Ran patted, Song Kong Hong didn't let go. The snow corpse gradually tightened its right hand, and everyone could hear the clenching sound coming from the huge palm, as well as Elder Feng's painful cry. Is this terrifying snow corpse trying to pinch a Do Huang to death? Feng Yun, who was not far away, was already scared. That's a Do Huang. You actually pinched him to death. Right now, Feng Meiying could feel that her body was being squeezed together, and her internal organs were all heavily injured. Puff! As the snow corpse tightened its grip, Feng Meiying spat out a blood mist. Everyone was scared. It really pinched a Do Huang to death. What kind of empire is this? It's even crueler than a sect. The snow corpse loosened its right hand, and Feng Meiying's body fell onto the ground, and she no longer looked like a human. Roar, roar, roar! The snow corpse beat its chest with both of its fists, let out a berserk roar, and started trampling mercilessly. There wasn't the slightest bit of mercy. Song Kong Hong hurriedly carried Mu Ran and dodged. It seemed dangerous, but actually it wasn't dangerous at all. Under this merciless trampling, 100,000 disciples were instantly killed, and only Feng Yun was left in Guda Principality. Ding Wenbar and Xia Yu couldn't escape at all, and they were all trampled to death. Enough! Enough! Don't kill any more! Mu Ran cried miserably in Song Kong Hong's arms. However, as Mu Ran spoke, the snow corpses actually stopped. Only a few hundred of the 100,000 were left. Everyone looked at the snow corpses that stopped moving, and all of them were very puzzled. The snow corpse could be seen lowering its head and taking a look at everyone, then turning around and walking away. In the process of walking away, the snow corpse's body began to melt, and in the end, it turned into ordinary snow and fell onto the ground. Feng Yun went into a daze for a moment, then stretched out his hand and touched the invisible wall. Upon discovering that he could pass through the invisible wall, Feng Yun did not even think much and immediately broke into a run. And when the remaining disciples saw that Feng Yun was actually able to run out, they immediately didn't think of anything else and hurriedly ran away. However, Mu Ran wasn't in a hurry to run. Instead, she walked to the side of Feng Meiying's corpse and decided to bring her master's corpse back. After taking one last deep look at Voidless Empire, she walked in the direction of Tianliang's sect while Song Kong Hong followed behind Mu Ran. When is this protection mission going to end? Your Honor, at least say a deadline. Don't go on like this. The vampire sisters on the city wall pursed their lips and disappeared from the top of the city wall, appearing in the palace. The two bowed respectfully and said, "Reporting to Your Honor, everything is done." Yi Hua nodded his head. "Spread this news out. It is about time for Northern Liang to know about Voidless Empire." Yes. The two sisters received the order and left. Yi Hua took a deep breath. This north of Kangluo continent is a bit interesting. It seems to be more interesting than the south. However, Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji seem to not be planning to share this moment of happiness with me. Yi Hua came to the children's palace, and in the garden, he saw Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji playing with the children. When the two of them saw Yi Hua, the happy smiles on their faces instantly disappeared. Yi Hua was also helpless. The speed at which the two of you change your expressions is a bit too fast. Daddy! The four little fellows shouted out. Yi Hua nodded his head, then walked forward and sat beside his wives. However, Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji didn't pay attention to Yi Hua, not even taking a look at Yi Hua. Yi Hua stretched out his hand, seemingly wanting to hold on to Qing Ya's hand. However, before he even managed to touch Qingya's hand, Qingya had already hidden away. Qingya even stood up and changed to another seat, distancing herself from Yi Hua. When the children saw this scene, they were also helpless. Daddy, we are willing to accept the mission, but Mom is very angry, you have to coax her. Towards this situation, Yi Hua did not get angry. It was also reasonable for them to be angry. Just now, people came from outside the door. Gouda Principality and Tianliang sect, a total of 300,000 people. Yi Hua said lightly. Seeing that his wives were not speaking, Yi Hua said faintly, I have already given them a chance, and Mu Ran had also tried to persuade them, but they still chose death. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji did not have any reaction to what Yi Hua said. Yi Hua thought that they would blame him for being cruel, and didn't expect that they would be so calm. However, in Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's hearts, how is this considered cruel? Exiling our own children, that is cruel. This wife of mine has been not uttering a single word the entire time, and it is giving me a headache. Yi Hua feels that it is better for me to put down a bit of face. Wife, I'm hungry, Yi Hua said while looking at Qingya. His tone was a bit strange, and seemed to have a hint of acting coquettishly. Even a supreme overlord is able to act coquettishly? Oh my god. Goosebumps are starting to appear all over Qingya's body. I remember that last time when Yi Hua also acted coquettishly, it was simply unbearable. Not only Qingya's entire body, Donghuang Baiji's entire body was the same. Even the children were the same as well. This was the first time they saw their father like this. He suddenly realized that although his father was strict, he was quite cute at times. Just like now, he was acting spoiled in front of his mother. Yi Hua gave Donghuang Li a look, and Donghuang Li immediately understood. Mom, Ali is hungry. Yi Yan could also understand his father's gaze. Mom, Yan is also hungry, I want to eat Mom's cooking. It was useless for Yi Hua to beg bitterly. However, when it came to the children's request, the two mothers would definitely agree to it. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji walked over to the kitchen and started cooking. After the two mothers left, Donghuang Li said with a smile, Dad, didn't I say that Mom would definitely be angry? Daddy knows. So Daddy will coax your mommy. Don't worry. Yi Hua stroked onto Donghuang Li's face. Right now, Donghuang Li is becoming more and more beautiful. Donghuang Li is also enjoying her father's stroking. Dad, what are we going to do? God Yi suddenly asked curiously. Both Qingya and Donghuang Baiji felt that they were blood-related siblings, but they weren't that close to each other. After all, their personalities were different. Yi Hua let go of Qingya and placed Donghuang Baiji into his embrace, then said tenderly, Baiji, am I right? What right and wrong? In any case, it isn't good for you to take the children away from us. Donghuang Baiji said tenderly. However, from her tone, Yi Hua could tell that she wasn't that angry anymore. Yi Hua stretched out his hand and embraced Qingya into his embrace as well, then said warmly, All right, this is all for my own good. Just promise me this time, all right? In the future, whatever you guys say will be the law. I guarantee that I will not go against it. How about it? To Qingya and Donghuang Baiji, this benefit is rather tempting. After all, Yi Hua often doesn't listen to me. If we are able to obtain an obedient Yi Hua this time, it would be pretty good. Besides, this time he was determined to send the children away. No matter how she begged, it was useless. It was better to take more benefits and train her husband well. Really? Qingya had a look of disbelief on her face. Donghuang Baiji also had a look of disbelief on her face. You are a supreme overlord. If you were to listen to your wife's words, how embarrassing would that be? Yi Hua laughed lightly. When have I ever lied to you two? Furthermore, what's wrong with me listening to my wife's words? If anyone dares to make irresponsible remarks about me, I will destroy that person. What you mean is that you will listen to us in the future? Qingya asked curiously. Yi Hua nodded his head. That's right. Donghuang Baiji asked closely. Everything including your revenge plan? That's right. Yi Hua had put in a lot of effort. Children, for the sake of your future, your father has sacrificed a lot. Qingya suddenly held onto Yi Hua's face. It just so happens that I need you to do something for me.
and I can see if you are really obedient or not. Heh, Qingya, you are my empress. Not to mention one thing, I am willing to do even 10,000 things for you. Qingya said petulantly. Don't speak so fast, listen to me first. All right, as long as you two can let the children leave peacefully, I am willing to do anything. Qingya took a look at Donghuang Baiji, and Donghuang Baiji silently nodded her head. Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows, and a bad feeling emerged from the bottom of his heart. Qingya could be seen saying seriously, if you marry Yutong, I will believe you. Yihua. F***K. I only have that little bit of excitement from having an affair, and you two want to exploit me too? This is too cruel. No. You want to test me again? These two wives of yours are really bad. To actually use this kind of method, I nearly fell for your tricks. I say, Qingya, is there any meaning in doing this? Yutong is my sister-in-law. What you are doing is trampling on the bottom line of morality. After Yihua finished speaking, he felt that it was a bit weird. It seems like I am having a great time having an affair. Donghuang Baiji snorted coldly. You still dare to say that you are obedient? Look, the first request you make is already disobedient. Yihua, I knew that you are a swindler. Qingya, don't bother about him. In the future, don't bother about him anymore. Humph. Qingya snorted coldly, then continued cooking. Yihua had a look of, you can scram now, don't come and bother us. In actuality, Yihua and Qing Yutong had discussed about this problem before. Rather than being exposed, it would be better to do it secretly. Using Qing Yutong's words, it was very exciting. As long as I am together with Qing Yutong, my heart would beat faster, and I would be afraid that my big sister would suddenly kill me. However, Yihua was the same as well. Other than having an affair with Qing Yutong, there seemed to be nothing else that could make me so nervous. If I were to really agree to it, then this excitement would be gone, and there would be nothing else in the world that could make me so nervous and restless. Qingya, change your request. I can agree to anything you want. Yihua said gravely. I have already promised my sister-in-law that I will always be in this state. So how can I be a person who goes back on his words? Qingya said faintly. I only have this one little sister, I can't bear to part with her, and I can't let you take advantage of her? If that's the case, then there is nothing to talk about. You are not even thinking for my sake. F***K. In the past, when we were together, when I wanted to do something to your little sister, you would throw a tantrum in every possible way. Now, look at it, you want to send Yutong to my bed, but have you ever considered my feelings? I don't want to lose the only feeling of nervousness that I have. Qingya, change your request, anything is fine. Yihua felt that he had to choose between the child and Yutong. Qingya placed down the kitchen knife, then looked at her husband and said, I will only be at ease if Yutong is with you. In any case, you have spanked her butt. Chapter 787. Could it be that Yutong said it herself? She actually betrayed me. If that's the case, don't blame me for betraying you. Is this the only way for you two to be happy? Yihua asked gravely. His tone was filled with despair. He wasn't faking it. Upon thinking about how the feeling of excitement and nervousness would no longer exist, Yihua's heart was about to break. Seeing that Yihua had the intention to let go, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji pressed Yihua onto the chair, then squatted down and held onto their husbands' hands. Donghuang Baiji said tenderly, Yihua, this matter has indeed troubled you, but Qingya is also worried about Yutong. You are not young anymore, and we had already planned to get married a few years ago, but you were unwilling. Don't worry, we won't be angry. Yutong is not an outsider. We have lived together for so long anyway. That's right, hubby, Yutong is already so old, but sometimes she still acts like a child. You don't have to feel burdened. We can just go and do some mental work for Yutong. Qingya persuaded. She was worried about her sister marrying someone else, and only by marrying Yihua would she be able to be at ease. It must be said that Qingya's way of thinking had also changed along with Yihua's strength. In the past, this kind of thing would definitely not be allowed, but it was precisely because of Yihua's strength that Qingya felt that other than Yihua, there seemed to be no one else in the world who could match up to her sister. Furthermore, those men were all extremely bad men. After hearing that, Yihua took in a deep breath.
Such a wife. I love her so much. She knows how to find a woman for me. Yutong, in order to let the children go out peacefully, brother-in-law has no choice but to cheat you this time. All right, as long as you two are happy. Yihua held onto his forehead with a painful look on his face. I'm not pretending. I'm really in pain. It feels so good to have an affair, and it's even my sister-in-law. Just thinking about it makes me excited. Now that it's over, my sister-in-law has become my wife. What am I excited about? Hello, Yihua. Qingye kissed her husband, and Donghuang Baiji did the same as well. Finally, one of Qingye's wishes was fulfilled, and the main reason was to give Yihua a huge benefit, so that he could forget about other women. All right, then don't be angry anymore. The children have their own sky. You two can't guard them forever. Yihua said solemnly. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji nodded their heads. Last night, they found out that the children were looking forward to this mission very much, and it seemed like they had been thinking about it for a long time. You guys go ahead and cook. I won't disturb you. Yes. With a heavy heart, Yihua walked out of the kitchen. During lunchtime, Qing Yutong appeared on time, and as usual, she played with the children. I hope that after I get a man, I will be able to mature a bit. While eating, Qingye said solemnly, Yutong, I have something to discuss with you today. When Qing Yutong saw the serious expression on her big sister's face, she knew what she was going to say, and her face immediately collapsed. It wasn't the first time that the children felt sorry for their aunts. They were going to be lectured by their mothers again. Regarding this kind of matter, Qingye didn't plan to hide it from the children. Big sister, you don't have to worry about my matters, I know. Qing Yutong said helplessly. Be a bit more serious, sit up straight. Qingye said gravely. Qing Yutong sighed and sat up straight. After going through our decision, your marriage has already been decided. Hearing what her big sister said, Qing Yutong had a stupefied look on her face as she cried out in surprise. Big sister, do you have to be so ruthless? I don't even know who the other party is, and you already decided on it. What about human rights? Donghuang Baiji laughed lightly. Your brother-in-law has already agreed to it. Yihua let out a breath. Yutong, we won't be able to have a clandestine love anymore in the future. After hearing what Yihua said, Qing Yutong was stupefied, then looked towards Yihua, seemingly asking, why did you agree to it? Didn't we agree to have a clandestine love forever? Brother-in-law, you are lying to Utah. The little fellows went into a daze for a moment, then congratulated their aunt one after another. In actuality, the little fellows had long treated Qing Yutong as their family, and right now, it was only justifiable. Qingye smiled slightly and said, Yutong, in the future, you are also a wife. Be more steady, don't be so fussy and throw your husband's face. Qing Yutong had a bitter look on her face, looking as if she was about to die. This matter is decided then. Yihua, I will have to trouble you tonight. Qingye said. It was clear that she wanted to settle this matter as soon as possible. As long as they get on the bed, it would be considered as a success. Yihua, do you guys have to be so anxious? Is it really all right for you two to be like this? Qing Yutong was stupefied, and she felt that her brain was a bit short-circuited. During the afternoon, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji had specially decorated the bedroom. After that, Qingye pushed the two newlyweds into the bedroom. Yihua, be gentler. Yutong has never experienced it before, understand? Before leaving the bedroom, Qingye specially told Yihua to be gentle, and not to use too much force. When Qingye and Donghuang Baiji walked out of the bedroom, Yihua sat weakly on the chair, and Qing Yutong was the same as well. She sat weakly at the side. Brother-in-law, do you still feel nervous and excited? Qing Yutong asked disappointedly, because right now, there was no longer any nervousness and excitement in her heart. No. Yihua said faintly. Brother-in-law, you lied to me. Qing Yutong snorted. They used the children to threaten me. What else can I do? Yihua was also helpless. Qing Yutong lied on the table and said in a low voice, Brother-in-law, and I feel that calling you brother-in-law is a bit exciting. Yihua felt for a bit. It is indeed a bit. Then, how about I not change the way I address you in the future? Qing Yutong said happily. Sure. Yihua did not object. He just liked it when Qing Yutong called him brother-in-law. He was a bit excited.
Qing Yutong came to Yi Hua's back, lightly hugged him, then said tenderly, "Brother-in-law, big sister said just now, you have to treat me more gently, you can't use too much force." Yi Hua snorted coldly, then turned around and hugged her. "Do you think that is possible?" "Haha, I like brother-in-law's rough appearance. Hurry up. I have already waited for a few years." Yi Hua laughed. He knew that it was not easy for Qing Yutong. Although she was lacking that excitement, at least she had a home to return to. This silly woman, she even cried. However, 1 minute later, Qing Yutong immediately let out a scream. "Brother-in-law, it hurts, I'm not going to do it anymore." Yi Hua pressed onto Qing Yutong's sexy body. "Yutong, in the past, you were the one who was shouting every day, and now you are not going to do it anymore? Who knew that it would be so painful? Brother-in-law, let's change the mode. I will serve you." "Shut up." "Ah!" Qing Yutong cried on the bed, but in the end, her dream came true. Chapter 788. Qing Yutong almost forgot that there was still a mission. It seems like after completing the mission of pushing down brother-in-law, I can use whatever I want in the shop. Let's not talk about so many useless things first. Let me apply some ice on it, it will definitely swell up. Yutong. Yi Hua hugged onto Qing Yutong and said with a smile. "I didn't expect Qing Yutong's taste to be so good. Brother-in-law, I can't take it anymore. You can go and look for my big sister, or even big sister Baiji. Please let me go." Yi Hua slowly lifted up Qing Yutong's chin. "Yutong, I suddenly discovered that this is also quite good." "What's so good about it? It hurts so much." However, Yi Hua flipped over and pressed down onto her, giving Qing Yutong a fright. "Brother-in-law, don't, this is more or less enough." "Hee, you can ask your big sister. This bit of time is just my warm-up. I am only entering the main show now." "Ah, big sister. You caused Yutong to die." Having changed to a new taste, this made Yi Hua feel extremely good. It is normal for it to last a bit longer. Men all like new things. Therefore, Qing Yutong was unlucky. She couldn't even get down from the bed on the second day. Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji knew that this would happen. Wasn't I the same back then? However, looking at Qing Yutong's current state, it seems that she is even more miserable than me back then. Qing Ya was finally at ease with her little sister's problem, and one of her worries was finally settled. However, in the entire northern Liang land, the news of yesterday's battle had already spread, and everyone knew about it overnight. Tianliang's sect joined hands with Gouda Principality and gathered 300,000 people to attack Wuxia Empire. In the end, all 300,000 people were killed. Tianliang's sect's elder Fang was even directly pinched to death. That scene made everyone's back turn cold. Because everyone knew of Fang Meiying's strength, to be able to pinch a rank 1 Do Huang to death. Just how strong must she be? Just what is this Wuxia Empire? Why have I never heard of it before? A lot of people came over with curiosity to take a look at the powerful Wuxia Empire. This also achieved Yi Hua's initial goal, and he could clearly feel that the number of people entering the city was increasing. As long as you live in my territory, you will never want to leave again. Within Tianliang's sect's hall, Lan Gu was sitting at the top, and there were 2 elders sitting beside him. However, there were 2 elders' seats that were empty, and those seats belonged to Fang Meiying and Ma Ji. Fang Meiying's body was placed in the middle, and everyone's expression was very heavy. Mu Ran knelt behind her master. The tall firmament red stood behind Mu Ran, giving off a sense of oppression. Out of the 200,000 disciples, only a few hundred returned. Elder Fang has fallen, and Elder Ma's whereabouts are unknown. The one who spoke was one of the elders, Yu Wenba. This person was wearing a blue gown, and he had jet black sideburns. A strand of black hair fell beside the corner of his eyes, giving people a kind of frivolous feeling. "Yeah, this is the first time our Cold Sky sect has suffered such a heavy loss. Sect Master, give the order." Qi Lu was another elder. He was dressed in a black robe and had a small beard on his chin. As the sovereign, Lan Gu's face was taut. 200,000 disciples were gone just like that. If word got out, Tianliang's sect would lose all its face. Mu Ran, what exactly is going on with Voidless Empire? How strong were they? You've been captured by them for a period of time. It's impossible that you don't know anything. Lan Gu questioned in a deep voice. "Sect Master, Mu Ran doesn't dare to lie to you. What Mu Ran said just now is the truth. Mu Ran had already told Lan Gu everything that he knew. Lan Gu questioned coldly. Why did that emperor treat you well? And he even let you go easily. Mu Ran really doesn't know. Qilu asked, Mu Ran, since the other party is so strong, why did they value you, a heaven's law doer, so much? Furthermore, that emperor treated you quite well. Yu Wenba also said faintly. The two's meaning was very clear, Mu Ran. You couldn't have defected to the enemy, right? After hearing that, Mu Ran hurriedly explained. Sect Master, why would Mu Ran betray Tianliang's sect? Mu Ran, but why did I hear that after hearing what you said, that snow corpse gave up on attacking? Lan Gu slightly squinted his eyes and let out a chilling aura. Mu Ran doesn't know. Qila took a cold look at Mu Ran, then suddenly stood up and shouted, Mu Ran! You don't know the important things that I asked you. Do you still have Tianliang's sect in your heart? Mu Ran stubbornly lowered his head and didn't say anything. After such a thing happened, why was everyone's spearhead pointed at him? At this moment, a disciple ran in from outside the door, reporting to Sect Master, Elder Ma is back. Elder Ma was still alive. Lan Gu and the others all stood up, and they saw Ma Ji being carried in by two disciples. Sect Master, you have to take revenge for us, those people are so vicious. Ma Ji laid on the wooden stretcher and shouted in pain. Lan Gu asked faintly, Elder Ma, tell me in detail. Sect Master, all of us went to save Mu Ran, but after Mu Ran was brought back by Elder Feng, she tried her best to put in a good word for Wuxia Empire, and because of this, even Elder Feng got angry. I feel that Mu Ran has already defected to the enemy. Ma Ji directly pushed all the blame for the failure onto Mu Ran. After hearing that, Mu Ran's brain buzzed, and he said in disbelief, Elder Ma, how could Mu Ran defected to the enemy? You are talking nonsense. Mu Ran, why did you go alone? Why did you go alone? And why did you go alone? But all of us got into trouble. Can you explain clearly? And who is the man behind you? Ma Ji questioned in a deep voice. Mu Ran didn't know how to explain, and lowered his head without saying anything. However, this attitude seemed to be tacitly admitting the truth. Mu Ran, do you admit to your guilt? Lan Gu sternly shouted. A peak Do Huang aura was quietly emitted, causing people to be unable to breathe. And this aura directly pressed on the weak Mu Ran's body. Mu Ran really didn't betray Tianliang's sect. Mu Ran endured the pressure from the sect master and stubbornly held on. Yuan Gang coldly shouted, Mu Ran, although you are a heaven doja, but don't forget, what Tianliang's sect can give you, Tianliang's sect can also take back. Sect master, please believe in Mu Ran. Mu Ran's current words appeared so weak and powerless, and basically had no use. Such an explanation was just a cover-up when it landed in the ears of these people. Lan Gu said in a low voice, Mu Ran, this time around, everyone went for you. However, you have to take responsibility for such an outcome. Sect Master, Mu Ran had already persuaded Elder Ma and Master back then. At that time, Master and Elder Ma didn't listen. They wanted to snatch Wuxia Empire. Mu Ran shouted loudly. Beads of sweat on his forehead flowed down along his face. Ma Ji shouted explosively after hearing that. Sect Master, how could our Tianliang sect do such a thing? Mu Ran, don't slander us. Elder Ma, you. Mu Ran looked at Ma Ji in disbelief. How could he say such a thing? You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.